Here's a man that all the baseball world is focused on right now. They were early in the year. Pete Rose, when he went after his 3,000th hit. Carlton delivers to him, and the first pitch is a strike, and this game is underway. And right now they're zeroing in on Mr. Rose because he's trying to extend a hitting streak to 32 straight games tonight. He grounds to second. Sizemore down on the knees for the pickup, and on to Hebner for out number 1. So Pete out second to first to start the game, and the hitter will be right fielder Ken Griffey as we check out the Phillies defensively. Hebner first, Sizemore second, Bowa at shortstop, and Mike Schmidt at third base. Luzinski in left, Maddox in center, Cardenal in right, and McCarver behind the plate. Griffey batting .298 with 3 homers and 27 runs batted in. The pitch to him from the left-hander is a fastball for a taken strike. Joe Morgan on deck. Outfield shading Griffey around toward left. He's a left-handed batter, and that pitch is in for strike 2 call. Well, Carlton not wasting any time as he jumps out in front on Griffey, 2 strikes. Steve, a fast worker. Griffey right now making him wait on the mound as he steps away from the plate. Back in, and here comes the 0-2. That's just off the plate and high for a ball. Phillies lead the Eastern Division by 3.5 games over the Chicago Cubs. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a breaking ball. Too quickly out for Cincinnati in the opening inning, and here's second baseman Joe Morgan. By 3.5 over the Cubs, they lead Pittsburgh, who is playing very good baseball at the present time, by 5 games. Montreal has slipped into 4th place, 6.5 back. So we've got 2 divisions in the National League with pretty good races going. Of course, a much better one the Reds are currently involved in the West. Morgan fouls a pitch back. Joe carries a .261 batting average into this one with 8 homers and 54 runs batted in. Still looking for that 9th homer of the year that will give him 200 in the career. He takes it just inside as the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. Outfield straight away for the left-handed batting Red second baseman and playing him deep. The 1-1 from Carlton is high, 2 balls and a strike. Dutch Renner, our plate umpire tonight. At first base, Lee Wire. At second, Ed Montague, and Harry Windelstad at third. Morgan swings and bounces to second. Sizemore momentarily bobbles, but recovers in time to throw Morgan out and end the inning. So the Reds are out in order. 3 up and 3 down, and after a half inning of play at the bat in Philadelphia. The Reds nothing, and the Phillies are coming to bat.
More about that injury today at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Giants catcher Mike Sadek was carried off the field in a stretcher with a possible broken jaw after a violent collision with Chicago shortstop Ivan DeJesus in the second game of that doubleheader. The Giants won the first one. After Sadek walked with 1 out in the 4th inning, John Camargo hit a ground ball up the middle that DeJesus fielded shortly before smashing into the onrushing Sadek. Both players were stunned. Sadek was taken off on a stretcher with either a dislocated or broken jaw. DeJesus left the field under his own power. In the second inning of the game, Chicago's Bill Buckner suffered a sprained neck while sliding into Giants third baseman Eddie Cruz. Almost like playing football at Wrigley Field in Chicago this afternoon. By the way, again, the Giants took that first of a doubleheader against the Cubs by a score of 7-4. Giants in first place in the West, up their lead to second place Dodgers to 2.5, 3 ahead of Cincinnati.
2 big special dates are coming up when the Reds and the San Diego Padres get together for a weekend series in early August. Friday, August 4th is teen night, and guys and gals through age 19 may purchase regular $4 reserved seats for only $2. There's a 7 o'clock game on Saturday, August 5th, and then on Sunday, the Reds meet the Padres at 2:15, preceded by a game between Reds players and their youngsters. It's going to be a big weekend series with lots of extra special fun. Be on hand when the Reds meet the Padres a weekend of August 4th, 5th, and 6th. We move to the bottom of the first inning. Paul Moskau, who back this past June a year ago, June 21st to be precise, made his major league pitching debut right here in Veterans Stadium against the Phillies in a game that he was not involved in the decision. He has come up this year with a fine 2 2/3 innings of perfect relief ball in support of Bill Bonham earlier this season right here in this ballpark as the two combined to shut Philadelphia out. He delivers to Garry Maddox, and Moskau threw that fastball by him. Strike 1. Maddox, the Philadelphia center fielder, batting .290, 7 homers and 33 runs batted in. He fouls this one out of play. That'll drop behind the Philadelphia dugout first base side. Maddox to be followed by Larry Bowa and Mike Schmidt. Two ball clubs have split 6 games right down the middle this season. Low and outside for a ball, 1-2. Played 4 games here in Philadelphia. The Reds have won 2, the Phillies 2, and in Cincinnati they've played 2 times, each winning a game. Check swing on a pitch low, and Moskau now is even against Maddox at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Of course, we'll have them coming into Cincinnati following this road trip for 4 games. Moskau checks in with bench, and the 2-2 delivery is low and outside. So Paul got quickly ahead, 2 strikes on Maddox, and now cannot locate the strike zone as he has run the count full on him. Ready with a 3-2 pitch, and a fly ball hit down the right field line, tailing away from Ken Griffey, and the ball will carry out a play. Defensively for the Reds tonight, it's Driessen first, Morgan second, Concepcion short with Rose at third. Foster, Henderson, and Griffey in the outfield from left to right, and, of course, Johnny Bench behind the plate. Moskau back on top of the pitching rubber. Sights assigned, the line to pay off to Maddox again, and he struck him out swinging with a pitch down. One gone as Moskau chalks up a strikeout at the expense of Garry Maddox, and the batter now is shortstop Larry Bowa. Bowa, the National League All-Star starting shortstop back on the 11th of this month in San Diego, has been in a bit of a slump of late. He has, up until this slump, been over 300 almost the entire season. But right now, his batting average has dropped down to .291. Rose plays him shallow at third base. Switch hitter batting left-handed. And Bowa takes it low and inside for ball. Johnny Bench waving Foster in. He was playing fairly deep in left field for Bowa. They shade him to hit the other way. A big, wide open space over first base down the right field line. He lines one into left center field. Foster's over to cut it off as Bowa takes a turn and will hold at first base with a 1-out single. George almost overran that ball.
Why did a crease that goes across left field, and a ball hit right in that crease and kicked to George's right and almost got through him. A bad hop, really, but I don't know what it is. It's probably where they move the stands out to change the field. And remember, in Montreal, there's a tremendous crease in their outfield, so we got to be careful.
So the Phillies have a base runner with Bowa getting a base hit, and here's Mike Schmidt. He returns to the Philadelphia lineup for the first time after missing 16 games as a result of a pulled hamstring in his right leg in Wrigley Field back on the 30th of June. Pitch to Schmidt is low for a ball. He is wading through a rough season right now. Mike batting only .245 with 11 homers and 37 RBIs. Really was out of the Philadelphia lineup much longer than anybody anticipated. There's a throw to first. Bowa dives back in. Schmidt to be followed by Greg Luzinski. Now time call as Larry comes up a little bit slowly after having to dive back into first base. Tony Taylor, their first base coach, checking to make sure he's all right. Final score in Game 2 of the Twin Bill in Chicago. Cubs have beaten the Giants 7-5. Donnie Moore, the winner. Jim Barr, the losing pitcher. Bruce Sutter picking up another save in that one. Another throw to first. Bowa quickly back in. We're in the home first inning in Philadelphia. No score. Bowa at first with 1 out. There's a throw to first again, and Mr. Moskau paying a lot of attention to Mr. Bowa. That's 4 times he's thrown over there. Bowa swiped 17 bases, and that's second best on the club. Garry Maddox has 21. Well, Larry Bowa, pretty dirty from neck to the tip of his toes right now after repeatedly diving back into first base on the throws from Moskau. Mike Schmidt looking down to third base coach Billy DeMars with a count of a ball and no strikes. Infield a double play depth. as the pitch comes plateward, and Schmidt takes it below the knees. 2 balls and no strikes. This guy always seems to hit Cincinnati pitching well, whether it's at Veterans Stadium here or at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. He fouls the pitch off. So I was talking earlier about how well this Philadelphia club plays at home. They have won 31 and lost 11 at Veterans Stadium this season. They've won 18 of their last 23. Pitch, and we've got a balk call against Paul Moskau.
Mighty Paul, quick pitch, really. I don't think anyone was ready, and it was very noticeable. He just quick pitched, and they call a balk, which is a good call.
So that moves Larry Bowa into scoring position at second base. Phillies will now try to make Moskau pay for that mistake, and really that's something you simply can't be guilty of when you've been around the major leagues, although a short time for Paul, still long enough to know you can't do that. There's a swing and a miss. And the count evens on Schmidt at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Greg Luzinski watching from the on-deck circle as Bowa, leading at second, checks the whereabouts of Concepcion. Another foul off the bat of Mike Schmidt. And a holding 2 ball and 2 strike count. Dimensions here at the bat, 330 down the lines. In the power alleys, they go 371 and 408 to straightaway center field. But I think anybody at all knowledgeable about this game of baseball, especially in the National League, full well realizes that this is a park where year in and year out an abundance of home runs will be struck. Ball carries very well to all sectors of this stadium. Another foul, and Schmidt hanging in. Rockets one back upstairs, back behind the Philadelphia dugout. 2-2 on the Philadelphia third baseman. Maddox struck out to begin the inning. Bowa lined a single over short and has moved to second on the Moskau balk. Schmidt leveling the bat as Moskau now straddles the pitching rubber and looks Bowa back into the bag at second base. Here's a 2-2 to the plate. And another foul ball. This one carries off the right field line. Now you figure the Phillies are 31-11 here at the vet. That means they have won 17 and lost 27 on the road. And their hitting certainly reflects the strength here at home as opposed to the weakness on the road. They're batting .275 at home as opposed to hitting .231 on the road. Last night, J.R. Richard limited them to only 3 base hits as Houston had a total of 18 in a 9-1 victory. Stretching the pitch. Low ball 3 and a full count on Mike Schmidt. Paul picked up his first victory of the year a couple of starts ago, back on the 5th of July, beating Houston 2-1. Now the payoff pitch, and strike 3 swinging. After fouling off numerous pitches, Mike Schmidt finally goes down swinging, and that's Paul's second strikeout. And now Sparky Anderson running out to the mound. And we'll get together with both Johnny Bench and Paul Moskau with Luzinski coming up. I wonder, Joe, would this... They possibly could be talking about putting him on. I couldn't think that with a left-handed batter in Hebner coming up.
Marty, I think really what Spark might be talking about is his pitches. He threw that ball very well, and a couple of pitches to Mike he did not throw good. And I think Spark might be just trying to get Paul to let it go because he certainly has got a good fastball tonight when he throws it. So other than that, I don't know what they might be talking about.
You know, you bring up a good point because we saw a youngster last night in Hal Dew, 23 years old, and you made the comment to me during a commercial break. Here's a kid who is not afraid to challenge the best home run hitter in the National League in George Foster.
That's exactly what he did a lot last night, and Paul can do the same thing, but you know, a lot of times when you try to challenge a batter and you say, well, I'm going to throw a good fastball, you sometimes tense up and squeeze the ball too hard, and thus you take away some of the velocity, where if you just stay relaxed and let it go, then you get that good moving fastball. Right now, I don't know what's going on. Sparky talking with Dutch Rennett, Harry Wendelsted, Ed Montague, and now Lee Wire coming over, and what the discussion could be, I have no idea.
Well, Sparky went to the mound to talk with Moskau. As he started in toward the dugout, he waved Dutch Rennett over, and he got into a conversation with Dutch, and pretty soon all four of the umpires got in on the conversation, which now is broken up. So whatever that could be about, we have absolutely no idea. But with 2 away in the inning now, here's Greg Luzinski. Second in the league in home runs. Foster, of course, hit his 22nd in the ninth last night off left-hander Darrell Knowles. Luzinski with a total of 21. He's batting .241. He takes a strike. No score, home half of the first inning. Bowa at second, 2 men out. Moskau has struck out Maddox. He has struck out Schmidt. His pause and pitch, and Luzinski grounds this one foul into the Cincinnati dugout. No balls and 2 strikes. I'd like to welcome American Forces Radio all over the world, picking up our broadcast from Philadelphia tonight. Moskau ahead in pitching, and that one just high. That's the only thing it could have been. Paul had headed toward the dugout. He thought he had Luzinski struck out. Wrap up the series tomorrow night as Tommy Hume opposes left-hander Jim Cott, and then on to Montreal for 3 over the weekend. The kick and the pitch. He checked his swing. Lee Wire makes a call down at first base on a breaking ball that Luzinski started around on. That makes it 2 balls and 2 strikes. Paul working very deliberately in the first inning, trying to leave Bowa stranded at second. Once again straddles the pitching rubber. Looks to Johnny Bench and throws to Greg Luzinski. That's high, ball 3. Well, he went 3-2 on Maddox, struck him out, went 3-2 on Schmidt, fanned him, and has run the string out on the bull, Greg Luzinski. On the way with a payoff, Bowa coming to third, and the pitch is fouled back. Larry Bowa running on the 3-2 pitch to the plate, but Luzinski fouled it straight back. Very warm day here in Philadelphia today. The temperature up over 90 degrees, but very pleasant, low humidity conditions as we get this ball game underway. Payoff pitch again, and he walked him, missing high and outside with a heater. Luzinski going on down to first base with the walk, and the first for the Phillies continues for first baseman Richie Hebner. In more than 100 cities served by the Reds radio network, including Frankfort, Kentucky on WKYW, Gallipolis, Ohio on WJEH, WYPC, Hartford City, Indiana on WWHC, and Norton, Virginia on WNVA. Hebner moving back over to first base now that Mike Schmidt has returned to the lineup. He's hitting .261 with 9 home runs and 35 runs batted in. 2 on, 2 out. Hebner takes it outside, a ball. Bowa at second, Luzinski at first, a single and a walk with 2 men down. Hebner looks at a strike. Off-speed pitch to square things at 1. Morgan playing deep at second base for the left-handed batter as a fastball comes inside. 2 balls and a strike. Hebner against the Reds this season has had 8 hits and 17 times up with 1 home run, and he's driven in 7. Moskau behind as he sends a pitch in, and Hebner way out in front bounces it foul past the Philadelphia dugout. 2-2 the count. Jose Cardenal on deck. This, of course, the final trip into Philadelphia for the Reds in regular season play. After being in here earlier, a couple of months ago, back in May, the Reds were in town for 4 games. 2-2 the count on the waiting Hebner. High, ball 3. Well, the track meet will begin on a base pass with a 3-2 count on Richie Hebner. 2 men out. Bowa will be heading toward third. Luzinski will be on the move, and here it comes. Here's a fly ball hit back in a deep center field. Going back is Henderson on the warning track, and he'll make the catch. Long belt to center by Hebner, but Henderson with room makes the catch, and the inning is over. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 2 stranded. And at the end of 1, the Reds nothing and the Phillies nothing.
Second game of the doubleheader at Wrigley Field, Chicago is over. Here's a wrap-up of it. Larry Bowa drove in 3 runs, 2 coming in a 5-run first inning to lead the Chicago Cubs to a 7-5 victory over the San Francisco Giants and a split of a doubleheader. San Francisco won the opener 7-4 behind Larry Herndon's 4 RBIs, Terry Whitfield's 7th home run, and Vida Blue's 13th victory of the year. Blue 13-4 needed help from Gary Lavelle, who knocked his 11th save. Ray Barrett's 5-8 suffered defeat. In the nightcap again, San Francisco starter Jim Barr, now 4-8, couldn't retire a hitter as the 7 Cubs he faced all reached base safely. A throwing error by Barr prevented the first run. Bittner's single for 2 more. Manny Creo had a run-scoring single, and Dennis Lamp's fielder's choice accounted for the Cubs' final run. Chicago added 2 more in the second frame with a run-scoring single by Bittner, an error by catcher Mike Sadak to give Donnie Moore his 5th win in 7 decisions. Bruce Sutter earned his 16th save. Let's pause now for station identification. This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
SCN Canal Zone.
Second, George Foster, who's been on a home run tear of late, will lead things off against Steve Carlton. George batting .303, leading the league in homers and runs batted in with 22 and 72 respectively, and he's hit 4 home runs in the last 3 games. Interestingly enough, all have come against left-handed pitching. Also in his last 4 games, he's driven in a total of 10 runs, so Foster is in fact on a tear, and he'll try to get it going here against Carlton in the second as Steve is forced to wait on the mound. George taking his time, moving into the plate. Okay, number 15 ready to go, and here's Carlton's first pitch. Swung on, ground ball to third. Schmidt has it, and the long throw across the diamond to Hebner in time. 1 out. Well, Carlton has retired the first 4 batters as he goes to work on catcher Johnny Bench. John is, in terms of base hits, he's had the hottest bat in the Reds lineup of late. Raised his batting average to .251 from .224 in the strength of 5 2-hit games since the All-Star break. Homered 11 times, has knocked in 34 runs. No score, top of the second. Bench fouls a pitch away. He's had a home run earlier this season off Carlton. Missing with a pitch, 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers again playing at Pittsburgh tonight. Swung on and popped back out of play. Probables in that game, Doug Rao, 10-4 for the Dodgers against left-hander Jim Rooker. He's 4-6. Bench behind, a ball and 2 strikes, and checks his swing on the fastball just low. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Atlanta and Montreal playing a twin bill up at Olympic Stadium at the end of 4 in Game 1. Braves lead at 2-0. Tommy Boggs pitching for Atlanta. That's ball 3 downstairs. Houston and New York playing a doubleheader at the end of 6 in Game 1. The Astros lead at 6-3. Watson is homered for Houston, and San Diego and the Cardinals play a single game. Bench is on with a walk. So Johnny becomes the first Cincinnati base runner. And in now will be shortstop Dave Concepcion. Davey batting .293, 3 homers and 38 RBIs. Against the Phillies, 7 hits, 19 at-bats, and 3 knocked in. So bench is over at first after Foster grounds out first pitch hitting to Schmidt at third. 1 gone in the inning. And Carlton pitches, and Davey takes a strike at the knees, a fastball. Carlton, 8 wins and 8 losses in making his 21st start of the season. He throws to first. His bench steps back. Earned run average of .322. You say lefty has not been throwing consistently hard this season, like, of course, he has been noted for in past years. Davey swings and misses. Actually fouls it into McCarver's mitt, and the count goes to 2 strikes. Kenny Henderson on deck for Cincinnati. The check of bench, the pitch to Concepcion, a high and away fastball. 1-2. Strikeout of Griffey in the first inning moved Carlton into 16th place on the all-time strikeout list, bypassing former Dodger great Sandy Koufax. 2,397 for Carlton, and there's 2,398 as he strikes out Concepcion swinging. 2 away. That brings to the plate center fielder Ken Henderson, a starter of the last 3 games. He'll be in there again tomorrow night as we face another left-hander, and then we go into Montreal where we'll see right-hander Rogers on Friday, left-hander Grimsley on Saturday, throw to first, and the right-hander Hal Dews, who beat us with relief help at Riverfront last night, he'll be pitching in all likelihood on Sunday afternoon. Henderson takes it off the plate, a ball. Kenny batting .236. With a homer and 7 RBIs. 2 down, no score in the second. Bench at first base. Henderson checking his swing. The pitch is in on his hands. 2-0. Carlton to the belt. He kicks and he pitches, and Henderson held up on that swing. Ball 3. Steve normally won't walk too many people. He's issued but 42, counting the walk to bench in 136 innings of pitching this season, and he has walked Henderson on 4 straight. Now 2 on with free tickets for left-handed batting first baseman Dan Driessen. Danny hitting .292 with 10 homers and 50 runs batted in this season. Homered 1 time against the Phillies among his 9 hits, and a chance now to do Carlton and company some damage. Steve sends it in, and Driessen takes a strike. Phillies threatened in the first inning. They could not score. Reds are threatening with 2 down in the second. Driessen got around on that pitch, strike 2. So Carlton in front, 2 strikes. With runners off the bags at first and second, Driessen strikes out swinging, and that's the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 2 men left on. In the middle of inning number 2 in Philadelphia, Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies, 0-0.
One game is played in the American League this afternoon at Oakland. Jason Thompson's 2-run 7th inning single off second baseman Mike Edwards' glove drove in a couple of runs, carried Jim Slayton, the Detroit Tigers, to a 5-4 victory over the Oakland A's. Dave Revering's 2-run homer in the 6th put the A's ahead 3-2. But in the 7th, Phil Mankowski doubled with 1 down to start Detroit's winning rally. After a walk to Alan Trammell, Ron LaFleur hit into a force out, but an infield single by Lou Whitaker scored 1 run, and Rusty Staub walked to load the bases for Thompson, whose grounded deflected off Edwards' glove and into right field. Looking at the standings in the American League as of this moment, in the West, Kansas City a half game up on California, followed by Oakland, 2.5. That includes that loss this afternoon. Texas tied with Oakland. They're 2.5 back. Minnesota 8, Chicago 9.5, Seattle 18.5. In the American League East, Boston on top of Milwaukee by 8, Baltimore 12.5, New York 14, Detroit trails by 16, followed by Cleveland 19, Toronto in the East basement, they're 29 games behind.
Two of the most popular gift items at the Cincinnati Reds 580 gift shop are the authentic Cincinnati Reds baseball cap and nylon warm-up jacket. The cap is exactly like the one worn by Reds players and comes in sizes from 6.5 to 7 5/8. The nylon windbreaker is a high-quality lightweight jacket, and it comes in both adult and youth sizes. Both make great gifts for any Reds fan, for Dad on his birthday, or for that fellow worker who may be leaving town. Stop by the Reds official 580 gift shop in downtown Cincinnati, or call or write the Reds office for a handy 580 mail order form. Right now, the Philadelphia right fielder leading off the bottom of the second. Jose filling in for injured Bake McBride, who has a severely bruised hand, suffered a couple of nights ago in Houston. They expect McBride to be out for a few days. Cardenal has done quite some job for this Philadelphia club. He's batting .292. Moskau sends in a fastball for a strike. Last 12 games, he's hit at a .342 clip with a couple of home runs and 8 runs knocked in, and has scored 10 runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cardenal will be followed by Tim McCarver and Ted Sizemore. That's below the knees. Ball 2, 2-1. Yes, if you've got to be missing the strike zone, down is where you want to miss. And Paul has certainly been down with most of his pitches here in the first inning plus. That's a strike call, low and on the outside edge, 2-2. Cardenal, a right-handed batter. He swings and lines one to left field. Foster gets it. On the run. George breaking in very quickly to pick off that sinking line drive, and Cardenal becomes the first out in the inning. Tim McCarver will be the batter with 1 away. Here's a message for baseball fans in the Columbus, Ohio area. The Clippers are at home with the Richmond Braves tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then it's 4 weeknight games coming up with Tidewater. McCarver batting .250, no homers, 5 RBIs. He swings and lines one back into center field, and the Philadelphia Phillies have hit number 2. McCarver jumping on Paul's first pitch for a line single to center, bringing to the plate second baseman Ted Sizemore. First appearance of the year for Teddy against the Reds. He, of course, went out early in the year with a broken hand. They called up young Jim Morrison from their AAA farm club at Oklahoma City, and when Sizemore came off the disabled list, Morrison went back down. Talked to Ted before the ball game and said that hand is not yet 100%, and it is affected to some degree his hitting. He bounces towards second. Morgan goes to Concepcion. Davey quick throwing to Driessen. That's a double play, and that's the inning. For the Phillies in the second, no runs, a hit, no errors, and nobody left on, and we've completed 2. The Reds nothing in Philadelphia likewise.
Let's check the scoreboard. After 3 innings of play, the first of 2 games at Shea Stadium in New York, Houston leads the New York Mets by a score of 4-1. That's the only thing to report as of the moment. To Pete Rose, who loves baseball statistics and history from the official National League statisticians, congratulations. The odds against you hitting in 31 straight games were 2,784 to 1. But now you're tied for 9th place on the all-time hitting streak list. Nobody in the last 29 years has batted safely more times in a row. But here's where it really starts getting tough. As a .311 lifetime hitter, coming to bat an average of, say, 4 times a game, the odds on you breaking Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak are 2.16 million to 1. The odds on you reaching Joe D are 1.67 million to 1. That's right. That might seem too much to overcome, but consider if you were a mere .250 hitter like most of the other players around. The odds on breaking the 56-game streak will then be 2.6 trillion to 1. Take comfort in that, Rose.
After 2 innings of play here in Philadelphia, 0-0 ball game. Carlton for the Phillies, Moskau for Cincinnati, and we'll have the pitcher Paul leading off the third for the Reds. Here to call the play-by-play for you, Joe Nuxall.
Thank you, Marty. Paul Moskau hitting 190, has driven in a run and has the double. The Reds looking for their first hit off Steve Carlton. He has walked 2, walking bench, and Henderson in the second inning. Carlton has struck out 3. Now, the Giants did split the doubleheader with the Cubs San Francisco winning the first game 7-4, and the Cubs taking the second game 7-5. First pitch to Moskau, in for a called strike. Carlton, the quick worker, back to the plate, and ball takes low and outside, 1-1. Outfield straightaway for Moskau, the pitch. Swung on and missed, good fastball, and it goes the ball 2 strikes to Paul Moskau. Rose and then Griffey here in the third for the Reds. No score. Good crowd looking on the pitch. Low and inside, the count even, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Of course, Tim McCarver behind the plate. And he catches each and every one of Steve Carlton starts. The pitch swung on, fouled out of play. And a couple of years ago, Steve McCarver passed up a pretty good opportunity at Toronto. Part of their broadcast team to stay on with the Phillies. The 2-2 again. That's outside. Full count. Carlton has the sign and the payoff. High and outside, swung on, bounced to Sizemore, leaping, throwing, got him. Ted Sizemore, that pitch way up high. That was ball 4, but Paul chose to take a swing at it and bounces out to Sizemore at second. All right, here's Pete, and as you all know, Pete with a 31-game hitting streak. And going for 32. First inning, Pete grounded to Sizemore at second base. Rose hitting .306. He has 118 hits on the year. Takes from Carlton low at the knees, make it a strike. I'm going to have to wait for Dutch Renner to wind up and get out of there with that strike call. There's the fastball inside as Pete spins around, and it evens at 1-1. Seventh inning in New York, the Astros leading the Mets 6-3. There's ball 2 inside, just missing. 2-1 the count. Well, the winds, delivers, Rose. Swings in a high chopper. Schmidt at third charging. He has it. Throws him out easily, 2 away. Two down, and Ken Griffey, the batter. Kenny struck out in the first inning. And under the 300 mark. Hitting at .298. Carlton has the sign and the pitch. Swung on and missed, slider away. Carlton going for his 200th career victory and has had a tough time getting it. Hopefully not tonight. Pitch, fastball swung on, ground ball. Boa at short has it. Going on to Hebner, and that's the inning. The Reds out in a hurry here in the third, nothing across. Middle of the third, it's the Reds nothing, the Phillies nothing.
Cincinnati Reds relief pitcher Pedro Barbone has been relieved of 13 $100 bills. Barbone told adjacent Newport, Kentucky police when he awoke in his hotel room on Tuesday and found his wallet on the floor near the door, and that $13 $100 bills was missing from the wallet. Police said the door had been scraped, and it appeared someone had broken into the room while Barbone slept. The motel manager said Barbone, whose home is in the Dominican Republic, often stays at the motel when the Reds are in town. Don Sutton, Los Angeles Dodgers, has joined baseball's exclusive 200 club. The veteran right-hander notched his 200th career victory. Last night's 7-2 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sutton tossed a 6-hitter at the Bucs in his first start since he was ejected for throwing a scuffed-up baseball in last Friday night's game at St. Louis. Their win, by the way, moved the Dodgers to second place in the National League West, 2 games behind the San Francisco Giants, who suffered a 7-6 setback in 11 innings against the Chicago Cubs.
For the Phillies in the third inning, it'll be Steve Carlton to lead it off, and Garry Maddox and Larry Bowa. Carlton hitting .283. Steve has driven in 3 runs, has 2 doubles. He's had 13 hits and 46 times to the plate. Steve, a left-handed batter. Phillies with 2 hits off Paul. Bowa singled in the first inning, and McCarver singled to center in the second. Moskau has struck out 2 and has walked 1. He delivers to Carlton. It's outside a ball. One-0 delivery. Going inside. Breaking pitch. 2-0 the count to Carlton. Carlton, Maddox, and Boa here in the 3rd inning for the Phillies. Moskau back to the plate and swung on and popped foul, and that one just to our left. Count 2 balls to strike to Carlton. Moskau to the rosin bag, now back up onto the pitching rubber. And the 2-1 on the way. Swung on and a foul tip into the mid of bench. Count evens 2-2. All the 2-2. Way high and outside. Full count. Moskau has thrown quite a number of pitches here in the early innings. As has Steve Carlton. What a very comfortable night here in Philadelphia. Moskau to payoff. Swung on and fouled down the left side. That'll settle back into the seats. The count holds 3 balls, 2 strikes to Carlton. Bench hangs the sign, and again the 3-2 pitch. Swung on, that's foul. Back and off to the left and out of play. Moskau with the new baseball, rubbing it up. Ball checking with bench. Has the sign and delivers. Carlton swings and misses a high fastball, and that is strikeout number 3 for Paul Moskau. 1 away, and Maddox steps in. Garry struck out in the 1st inning. Maddox hitting .290, 7 home runs, 33 RBIs. Bench out to the mound to have a word with Moskau. Of course, Bake McBride out of the lineup tonight. Bake with a sore hand. Outfield for Maddox straight away. He swings and fouls. Moskau's first pitch out of play to the right. The 0-1 inside, an off-speed pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Winds the 1-1. Maddox takes low and outside. 2-1 the count. Tomorrow night, Jim Cott for the Phillies, Tommy Hume for the Reds. As we wind up regular season play here at Philadelphia, swing and a foul out of play by Maddox. Count evens 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes to count. Moskau has his sign and delivers. Swung on, that's foul to the right side, not a play. Count holds it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out, base is empty. Moskau checks in with bench. And again, the 2-2. Swung on, that's foul to the right side, not a play in the upper deck. Moskau back to the plate. Swung on and missed. Got him with a breaking ball, but a foul tip. So Maddox with new life. That was a very wide stance. He really spreads out in that batter's box. Underway at Pittsburgh in the second inning, no score. The Dodgers and the Pirates. Doug Rao and Jim Rooker in that one. 2-2 delivery. Swung on. That's hit off the fist into shallow left center. Going out Concepcion. And Davey makes the play backpedaling. 2 out and Larry Bowa the batter. Sixth inning in Montreal, the Braves leading the Expos 5-3. Ellis Valentine, a home run in that one for the Expos. Bowa owns one of the 2 hits in the game the Phils have had, a single to left in the first inning. He swings and hits a fly ball foul down the left side, and that'll drop into the garden along the left field line. Rose in shallow at third. The Reds outfield in shallow and around to the left. The pitch on the outside corner, called strike, and it's 0-2. Boy hitting .291 with the base hit in the first. His average up to .293 the pitch. Swung on. That's a liner into left field. A base hit. Foster plays it on the bounce. And Bowa 2 for 2 tonight. With 2 out, Larry Bowa at first base. The batter, Mike Schmidt. Schmidt struck out on a 3-2 pitch in the first inning. Mike with 11 home runs, 37 RBIs, and a .245 batting average. Phillies this year as a team have hit 75 home runs. The Reds have hit 73. Moskau works, and a fastball is just high. Ball 1. Bowa at first base. Larry 17 stolen bases in 20 attempts. Moskau Bowa the second in the first inning. Throws over and goes back. Stretch and the pitch. Swung on and fouled. 1-1 the count. Reds, after tomorrow night, move on to Montreal for games Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. And 3 in New York, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday. So over to first, and Bowa's back. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Mike Schmidt with 2 out. Moskau to the belt, delivers. Swung on, that's foul. Now a ball, 2 strikes. And they're going to get Moskau from going to the mouth, and that's going to be a ball, so the count will be even at 2-2. They call Moskau for going to his mouth, and the count evens at 2 balls, 2 strikes. So over to first, and he just got back that time. Two and two the count. Moskau to the belt and delivers. Schmidt swings in a very high pop-up, shallow left, going out Concepcion, waiting on it, and Davey has it, and that's the inning. That ball a mile in the air. In the inning for the Phils, no runs, a hit, no errors, a runner left on base, and at the middle of the third, or after 3, I should say. It's the Phillies nothing, the Reds nothing.
Wednesday's results, in case you missed them in Major League Baseball, first in the National League. Some of the ball games that were played around the league on Tuesday. Chicago Cubs beat the SF Giants in 11 innings by a score of 7-6. Dodgers took care of the Pirates at the East, 7-2. Atlanta Braves 4, New York Mets 3. Montreal over Cincinnati 3-1. Houston 9, Philadelphia 1. And the Padres beat the Cardinals 3-2. In the American League on Tuesday, Baltimore Orioles 5, Texas Rangers 1. Milwaukee Brewers beat the Chicago White Sox 7-2. Cleveland over California 8-3. 1 over Detroit 16-10 frames. Toronto defeated Seattle in a wild hitting contest 13-12. Looking at some of the starting pitchers tonight in the ball games, Atlanta at Montreal, it'll be Adrian Devine, the first game against Steve Rogers. Second contest, Rick Camp opposing Rudy May. Tigers at Pittsburgh, it'll be Doug Rao opposing Jim Rooker. Houston, New York, Tom Dixon against Pat Zachary. That's the first game of 2.
For the Reds in the top of the 4th inning, it'll be Joe Morgan, George Foster, and Johnny Bench. Morgan in the 1st inning grounded to Sizemore at second base. Joe's raised his batting average to 261. He bluffs a bunt on Carlton's first pitch, and it's 5-4-1. Morgan with 8 home runs, 54 RBIs, and 21 doubles. Carlton, the end of the line, and the pitch. That's in for a called strike. Not evens 1-1. Carlton back played, and Morgan takes, looks outside, 2 balls to strike. Foster on deck. Carlton the 1 delivery. Swung on, ground ball. Hebner has it to get off his glove and on into right field. And right now, we'll pause for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Reds Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
SCN, Canal Zone.
Well, Richie Hebner has been charged with an error on the ball off the bat of Joe Morgan. Morgan at first with nobody out, and here's George Foster. Carlton throws over to first, and Morgan steps back. Been a while since Joe has stolen a base because of that injury. Again, a throw to first. Morgan is back. Morgan has had 15 steals. He's been caught 4 times. Carlton delivers, and Foster swings and misses a curveball. George in the 2nd inning, leading off the inning, grounded to Mike Schmidt at third base. Morgan could lead at first, waiting on Foster to get back in. Reds have not had a job, Carlton, to this point. He throws again to first base, and Morgan is back easily. Carlton 2-0 against the Reds this year, lifetime 8-9. Now he steps back off the pitching rubber and bluffs a throw to first. Carlton to the belt, looks at Morgan, and delivers. Foster swings, and a little soft liner, jumping ball, has a quick throw to first, got him. Foster hitting a soft liner, and boy, leaving the street to pick it off, and then a quick throw to Hebner, and they double up Morgan. Well, 2 away, and the base is empty, and Johnny Bench the batter. John walked in the 2nd inning. Carlton delivers, Bench takes it in the 3rd and bounces on through Tim McCarver. Carlton has worked 17 innings against the Reds this year, allowing 11 hits. 2 runs, he's walked 6 and struck out 11. Bench swings and lines one to left field. Luzinski coming on and makes the Running catch fell by, and that's the inning. The Reds, no runs, no hits, one Philadelphia error, no one left on base, and it's the middle of the fourth. Reds nothing, Phillies nothing.
Game is over. The first of two at Shea Stadium in New York. Bob Watson drove in 3 runs with a 2-run single and a home run, leading the Houston Astros to an 8-3 victory over the New York Mets. Watson lined a single to the left, drive in 2 runs in the first inning, and helped Tom Dixon to his 5th victory in 11 decisions. Watson followed a sacrifice fly by Jose Cruz III with his 10th homer of the year, giving the Astros a 4-0 lead against Pat Zachary, now 10-6, and sending the Mets their 6th loss in 7 games. Getting back to starting pitchers in the National League, games either just underway or later. San Diego at St. Louis, it'll be Randy Jones, 6-8 for the Padres, Bob Forsch, 9-9 for the Cardinals. In that second game, Houston, New York, it's expected to be Marco Lemongello, 7-8 for Houston, and going for the Mets, Craig Swan. His record is 1-5. Next break, we'll give you a rundown of the probable pitchers for the games in the American League.
For Philadelphia, the bottom half of the fourth inning, Greg Luzinski, Richie Hebner, and Jose Cardenal will step to the plate. Luzinski walked in the first inning, and Greg having an off here as far as his batting average, hitting just .241, but with 21 home runs and 55 RBI. Those have had 3 hits off Paul Moskau, and Paul has walked 1 and has struck out 3. Luzinski last year hit .309 for the Phils, drove in 130 runs and hit 39 homers. Moskau delivers, and Luzinski swings and misses a breaking ball. The pitch way outside and on through bench with a breaking pitch. 1-1. Moskau delivers, Luzinski takes. That's just inside. 2 balls to strike. American League, the Detroit Tigers beat the Oakland A's 5-4. Swing and a fly ball deep left center field is 1-0. That ball into the seats in deep left center field, and Greg Luzinski has just hit his 22nd to tie George Foster for the league lead. Hit of the game for the Phils, and they're on the scoreboard. 1-0, and the batter, Richie Hebner. Hebner swings and pops one into center field. Drifting back, Ken Henderson. He has room, and they're waiting, and takes it in for out number 1. The home run by Luzinski, who's 13th of the year here at Veterans Stadium. One away, and Jose Cardenal, the batter. Cardenal, line 1 to Foster in left field in the second inning. Jose hitting .292. Moskau delivers. Cardenal takes a strike at the knees in the outside corner. The 0-1 down low. 1-1 to Cardenal. Tim McCarver on deck with 1 out. Moskau has the sign to pitch. That's blowing outside. 2-1. Cardenal did not play a whole lot for the Cubs last year. He had just .239. Now the 2-1. That's ball 3. .239 in 100 games. 3 home runs, 18 RBIs for Chicago. 3 balls to strike to count. Line the pitch. Swung on and bounced at Morgan at second. Joe has it on to Driessen. 2 up. 2 away, and the catcher, Tim McCarver, to the plate. Tim has singled to center with 1 out in the second. Operating 259. Tim has been in 46 games this year. 22 of them as a pinch hitter. Moskau delivers. McCarver check swing, ground ball, foul off the third baseline. Moskau starts the windup, and now McCarver backs away from the plate. 2 out, the Phillies have scored a run on Luzinski's home run. The pitch. Swung on, that's another soft liner. Off the glove of Morgan. Joe reached for it, and the ball hit off the tip of his glove on the first bounce, and that'll be a base hit for Tim McCarver, his second of the game. So the Phillies have had 5 hits in the game, and 4 of them belonging to Bowa and Tim McCarver. That brings Ted Sizemore to the plate. Ray Morgan was going to field that ball rather easily, but had it hit off the end of his glove and on into center field. Sizemore grounded into a 4-6-3 double play in the second inning. McCarver leads at first. The stretch by Moskau and the pitch. Outside and high, a ball. The stretch, the 1-0. Going outside, breaking ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Steve Carlton on deck. Reds and the Phillies have played 6 times this year. This is the 7th. Each is 1-3. Sizemore takes ball 3 low. 3-0 to count. Moskau to the belt. Here's the 3-0. That's the strike at the knees. 3-1. Danny Driessen now playing behind McCarver down at first base. The count 3 balls to strike. Moskau sets. McCarver goes. The pitch is swung on and pop foul. Out of play to the right. Full count. Phillies 1, Reds nothing. 3-ball, 2-strike count to Ted Sizemore with McCarver at first base. Other games in the American League tonight, Boston and Milwaukee. They had a big series for Milwaukee in particular. The pitch swung on, fouled straight back. New York and Minnesota, and Baltimore, Chicago, Texas, Kansas City, Cleveland and California. Down holding 3-2 to Ted Sizemore. Driessen playing well behind McCarver now. Again, the 3-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Got him with a high fastball. 4 strikeouts for Moskau, and the Phillies in the inning get a run on 2 hits. There were no errors, a runner left on base. The end of 4. Philadelphia 1, Cincinnati nothing.
Let's look at various categories, individual categories in baseball. First off, in batting. And the National League, Jeff Barrows again on top, but Jack Clark of San Francisco are just 4 points behind. Barrows was led for the last couple of months or so of Atlanta 323, Clark of the Giants 319, Whitfield of the Giants 317, Madlock of the Giants 317. So they've got 3 batters, either 319 or 317, 3 of the top 4 hitters from San Francisco. Parker, Pittsburgh 314, Valentine, Montreal 312, Simmons of St. Louis 307, Pete Rose of the Reds 306, George Foster of the Reds 303, and Richards of San Diego batting 302. Leaders in the American League, Rod Carew, Minnesota 353, Freddie Lynn of Boston 331, Lacano of Milwaukee 331, Rice of Boston 321, Sundberg, Texas 313, Yastrzemski of the Red Sox 311, Bell of Cleveland 308, Piniella of the Yankees 308, Brett of Kansas City 307, and Jackson of the California Angels also at 307.
The totals for 4 innings show the Reds nothing across. The Phils 1 run on 5 hits, 1 Philadelphia error, and to lead it off in the 5th for the Reds, it'll be Dave Concepcion, and back to bring you the action, Marty Brenneman.
Thank you, Joe. Davey was up back in the 2nd. Carlton struck him out swinging. Steve has fanned 3 in the game and has walked a couple. And the Reds still look for their first base hit. Carlton ready to go to work as he delivers to the Red shortstop, and Davey looks at a strike. L.A. trailing Pittsburgh 3-2 at the end of 3 innings of play. Reggie Smith has hit a 2-run home run to account for the Dodger run. 1 ball, 1 strike to David. Carlton quick working and pours this one over on the outside edge to get out in front. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ken Henderson on deck. He'll be followed by Danny Driessen. Reds got 2 on back in the 2nd through walks to bench and Henderson, but Driessen struck out for the final out. The only real threat the Reds have been able to pose in this one. Here's a swing and a fly ball back and right, but Cardenal tracks it, and backpedaling, he makes a catch. 1 down on Concepcion's fly ball the other way, and that brings up Kenny Henderson. Henderson had one of those walks in inning. Swing and a miss. Sparky was talking about Henderson's playing time of late and kind of gave the impression in our main Spark show tonight that Kenny might be playing against left-handed pitching the rest of the way this season. Foul ball is straight back and out of play. Strike 2. Of course, the injury to that toe that kept him out of the lineup or playing time, for that matter, for quite a while seems to have pretty much cleared up now. Carlton tried to run a fastball over on the inside corner, but missed with it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Philadelphia leading 1-0 in the 5th inning. That's high. 2 balls and a couple of strikes. Ball 3. Carlton throwing hard stuff to Ken Henderson. Kenny out of the batter's box. Surveys the situation, climbs back in, and here comes the left-hander's payoff pitch. He struck him out swinging. Steve Carlton working on a good one tonight, I'll tell you. That's 4 strikeouts, and with 2 away, Danny Driessen steps in. One of the winning banners in the Reds' recent Banner Day competition was done by Wayne Clayton and his son David of Indianapolis. This outstanding banner is now on display at Ross and Babcock, the Reds ticket agency for the Indianapolis area. Stop by soon and see it. Ross and Babcock is located at 109 South Illinois Street. Driessen takes a pitch outside. He swings and he misses on a breaking ball down. 1-1. That's strike 2 call. Driessen, who struck out his first time up, trails on the count as Carlton comes to the plate high with a fastball. 2-2 on the Reds' first baseman, Danny Driessen. Pitch. Swung on and popped in the air. Back in shallow right center, Ted Sizemore, the second baseman, gathers it in, and that is the inning. The Reds are out 1-2-3, and we're halfway through this Wednesday night ball game in Philadelphia with a score of the Phils 1 and the Reds 0.
4 stops, okay, home runs. Now, we get back to that again. The majors and the National League. George Foster tied now with Greg Luzinski. Luzinski hitting a home run just a couple innings ago for the Phillies. So each, Foster and Luzinski both have 22 home runs. Dave Kingman, the Chicago Cubs, along with Valentine of Montreal, Winfield of San Diego, and Clark of San Francisco, 16. American League, Rice of Boston, 23. Baylor, California, 21. Thompson, Detroit, Heisel, Milwaukee, 20. Alexander and Thornton of Cleveland, along with Thomas in Milwaukee, 19. Runs batted in, National League, Foster of Cincinnati and Clark of San Francisco, each 72. Winfield, San Diego, 63. Say and Garvey, the Dodgers, 60. American League leaders in the RBI department, Rice of Boston, 76. Of the Detroit, 73. Jason Thompson, the young hitter for the Tigers, 65. Heisel of Milwaukee, 63. and Thornton of the Cleveland Indians, 58.
Well, tonight's game opens up an 8-game road trip for the Cincinnati Reds. We'll be back home a week from Friday for the start of a big weekend series with the Phillies. There's a twilight doubleheader on Friday, July 28th, and then afternoon games on Saturday the 29th and Sunday, July 30th. Then after a short 3-game road trip to Atlanta, the Reds come back to Riverfront for a weekend series against the Padres, followed by 3 weeknight games with the Braves. Check out the schedule and make plans to be on hand, and be sure to purchase your tickets in advance. Here's a drive into the right center field power alley by Steve Carlton. Ken Griffey goes to the wall to pick it up. Carlton takes the turn. He's going to come on to third to throw to third base, not in time. Steve Carlton begins the Philadelphia Feds with a triple to right center. Griffey had trouble picking it up at the base of the wall. And Steve sliding in to beat the throw from cutoff man Dave Concepcion. So Philadelphia knocking on the door in terms of getting another run as they get an unexpected plus. Their pitcher delivering a 3-base hit, and now Paul Moskau waiting for Garry Maddox to leave the on-deck circle and come onto the plate. Maddox tonight has struck out. He's also popped up to shortstop, and already the Cincinnati infield is drawn in. Moskau looking into the Cincinnati dugout, now directing his attentions back to the plate. Carlton leading at third. The pitch to Maddox is swung on and fouled away. Luzinski hit his 22nd homer of the year in the last inning, a long belt to left center. Now the Phillies have a runner at third and nobody out. Maddox checking his swing on a fastball low. 1-1. Driessen, Morgan, Concepcion, and Rose all in. Garry Maddox takes strike 2. One ball, 2 strikes. Cincinnati right-hander kicks and fires, and Maddox bounces one toward short. Concepcion keeps Carlton at third and throws Maddox out at first. So one play in the inning. And now Larry Bowa, who's working on a perfect hit, with singles in the first and the third, raising his batting average to .295. Back behind the mound, Dave Concepcion and Paul Moskau chat. As Paul is 1/3 of the way home, getting Maddox on a ground out to shortstop. Rose coming in even further at third base, trying to take away any ideas that Bowa might have of bunting. He's one of the outstanding butters in Major League Baseball. Now the pitch, and Bowa swings and line drives a base hit to right field. Here comes Carlton loping in from third, and the Phillies lead it 2-0. I'll tell you, Bowa spraying them all over the line in this one. He went to left center for his first hit, single along the left field line in the third, and now pulls one into right field to get his 19th RBI. So any slump that Larry Bowa might have been in has become a thing of the past. Here's Mike Schmidt. Throw to first. Phillies now have 7 hits. They've had at least 1 hit in every inning. Pitch out call for by Johnny Bench, but nothing going on with Bowa. 2 runs, 7 hits, an error for the Phillies. No runs, no hits, and no errors for Cincinnati. Another throw to first base. Schmidt back in the lineup after missing 16 games. A throw to first again. Here's the stretch motion in the pitch. Swung on and fouled away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Junior Kennedy has come in from the Cincinnati bullpen, and that could be an indication that he'll be batting for Moskau when the Reds hit in the 6th inning. Paul is the leadoff batter. Another throw on to first. Boa quickly back. And the Phillies have added a run on a triple by Carlton and a one-out single by Larry Bowa. Schmidt grounds hard by Rose down the left field line. Another base hit. Here comes Bowa to third. They might try to score him. Now they'll hold him up. As the throw comes back into the infield, Rose has got him trapped and he's out. Well, the Reds got a real break because Foster's throw was over the head of Concepcion. Rose took it on the bounce. Bowa had taken the wide turn, anticipating that they might wave him into the plate. Rose took the throw on the bounce and applied the tag to Bowa before he could get back into third.
Well, Marty, that's a mistake that turned out in our favor, as you said, because throw over the head of Concepcion, who's a cutoff man, and, well, not too often do you make a mistake, but it helps you, but in this case it does.
So that takes some big pressure off. Rather than the Phillies having him at second and third with only one away, now Schmidt stands at second with a double. And with 2 out, here's Greg Luzinski. He has walked and hit a home run. He takes a pitch away. Ball 1. Score that put out of Bowa at third, 7-5. Strike to him. 1 ball and 1 strike on the ball. Final score in the first of that twin bill at New York. Houston beats the Mets 8-3. Dixon over Zachary. Bob Watson hit a home run. Breaking pitch, low and outside, 2-1. Well, the Phillies have had 3 hits in the inning, and 2 have been for extra bases. Triple by Carlton, double by Schmidt. Strike 2 call. Another breaking pitch that hit the outside corner. 2-2. Here's a check of the runner at second, and Luzinski strikes out swinging. But in the 5th for Philadelphia, a run on 3 hits. 1 is left. And after 5, the Phillies own the lead over Cincinnati at 2-0.
And we wound up the stats right now with stolen bases as we go from RBI the last time around with stolen bases. National League leaders, Marino, Pittsburgh, 42. Richards of the Padres, 27. Lopes of Los Angeles, 26. Tavares of Pittsburgh, 24. Cedeno of Houston, 23. In the American League, LaFleur heads up stolen base department with Detroit with 36. Wilson, Kansas City, 30. DeLeon, Oakland, and Cruz of Seattle, 29. Wills of Texas, 28. Pitching victories, National League, Vita Blues, San Francisco, 13-4. Ross Grinsley, Montreal, 12-6. Nepper, San Francisco, 11-5. Rogers, Montreal, 11-7. Necro, the Braves, 11-9. American League leaders, Guidry of New York, 13-1. Canana, California, 13-5. And Flanagan, Baltimore, 13-7. URA department, National League Rogers, Montreal, 2.12. American League Guidry of the Yankees, 2.23. Strikeouts, National League Richard, Houston, 177. American League Guidry of New York has 137 strikeouts. Let's pause now for station identification. This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
SCN, Canal Zone.
That's all. Marty Brenneman back at Veterans Stadium as we move to the 6th inning, and we're staring at a 2-0 deficit. Carlton is no-hitter us through 5 innings, and he'll be facing Junior Kennedy to pinch hit for Moskau. Pitch on the way, swung on hard, smash by Bowa. It goes into left center field as Kennedy takes a turn. That's going to be the first Cincinnati base hit of the night. So Junior Kennedy breaks his spell as he lines one hard past the glove of Larry Bowa. And now Pete Rose still looking to extend his hitting streak to 32 games is in. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Pete has bounced out to Sizemore, grounded out to Schmidt. And there's a strike in at the knees to him. First pinch hit of the year for Kennedy and 10 times up. Strike 2 call. got left-hander Dave Tomlin loosening up for Cincinnati. No balls, 2 strikes. Rose down. Carlton looks at first, where Kennedy leads and pitches. Pete fouls it away. Rose leads the National League in base hits with 118. 7 more than runner-up and teammate Ken Griffey. Carlton with a pause at the belt and into the plate. That's high, 2-2. Or 1 ball and 2 strikes make it. Kennedy bounces off the first base bag, and Carlton promptly throws that way. Now the 1-2 pitch to Rose. Swing and a miss. He struck him out swinging with a high fastball. That's the 5th strikeout for Carlton. 1 gone in the red 6 for Ken Griffey, who struck out and grounded to shortstop. So things not looking real good right now for Rose to keep that hitting streak alive. But we've seen him. Well, let's see what the exact figure is. How many times this season he's gone to his final at-bats? 5 times to keep the hitting streak alive. Pitches over the plate, but high for a ball to Griffey. Swung on, grounded to first. Hebner steps on the back, throws to second, double play. Hard one hopper to Richie Hebner. He stepped on first to get Griffey, fired to Bowa to nail Kennedy, and that's the inning. No runs, 1 hit. At the end of 5.5 innings of play, Philadelphia maintaining its 2-0 lead over Cincinnati.
Reggie Jackson has told his agent he'll return to the New York Yankees when his 5-day suspension ends on Sunday. His New York agent, Matt Marola, says Reggie called him to say he would join the Yankees in Chicago on Sunday. Marola says Jackson is now in his Oakland home and in good spirits. Jackson told Marola he never intended to defy manager Billy Martin's batting orders. He just thought he could help the team best by bunting against a left-handed pitcher. Marola says he doesn't think Jackson was going up there to deliberately disobey Martin. Club president Al Rosen says he is certain that Jackson will return to the team on Sunday. Martin has some things to say to Reggie Jackson. When he says them, he wants his coaches present. That, says Billy, is to keep the record straight. The Yankee manager also is considering having a tape recorder handy for the summit meeting expected this weekend in Chicago. As we said, that's the day that Reggie's 5-day suspension will end. Martin's in Minnesota, where his embattled Yankees take on the Twins tonight. Jackson's in California.
Cincinnati Reds do their very best to make it easy for fans to purchase tickets for upcoming games at Riverfront Stadium. For your convenience, there are more than 60 Reds ticket agencies located throughout a 4-state area. And when you order tickets at these branch ticket agencies, the Reds want you to know that your ticket order is still first come, first served. So ordering tickets at any branch agency is the same as, well, driving to Riverfront Stadium. Check out the Reds schedule and pick out the games you want to see, and then stop by the Reds ticket agency nearest you. You live in Chillicothe at Sears, in Wilmington at Athletic House, in Kokomo at Sanborn Sporting Goods, and in Maysville at Maysville Sports Shop. Well, Paul Moskau's night and done. He goes 5 innings, allows 2 runs, both of them earned on 8 hits with 5 strikeouts and a walk. And in his place now on the Vet Stadium mound is the left-hander, Dave Tomlin. Dave, with a record of 5-1, his 39th appearance of the year. He and Bourbon have now worked in more games than anybody on the Reds pitching staff, and carries an earned run average of .395. He'll be facing a left-handed batter, a right-handed hitter, and then another left-hander, and Hebner, Cardenal, and McCarver. Hebner has flied to deep center and fly to center field again. He's 0 for 2. Dave now down behind the mound, tying his shoelace. Hebner settling in, and Tomlin going to work. Here's his first pitch. That is swung on and grounded foul on top of the Philadelphia dugout. Swung on, ground ball to the right side. Morgan is there. Tomlin comes over to cover first, and they get the out. Danny Driessen took himself out of the play as he broke off to his right in hopes of having a fielding chance. Morgan swept in behind to make the pickup, and Tomlin covering gets the put out. One down for Cardenal, who's lined to left field and grounded out to second. Tomlin has made only one other appearance this season against the Phillies. Pitch is low. Back on the 1st of May, he worked 1 inning, giving up 3 hits and 4 runs, 2 of them earned. Check swing, 2 balls, no strikes. He has pitched very well of late. In fact, in his last 6 appearances, he has gone unscored on. There's a strike on the outside corner, is it? Yes, 2-1. Make it ball 3. 3 balls and no strikes. Looked like Dutch Renner had called that one a strike, but just indicating the pitch was outside. 3-0. See if they turn Cardenal loose. He's taking, and he's on with a walk. It's only the second walk allowed by Reds pitching in the game. Moskau walked 1 in his 5-inning stint. Brings up Tim McCarver, who's had 2 base hits. In the second, he singled to center. In the 4th inning, he hit a ball up the middle. Morgan got his glove on the ball, but couldn't handle it. Tim jumping his batting average up to .267. Cardenal leading against a holding Driessen. Tomlin pitches, runner goes, pitch is swung on, hit down the left field line, but foul. We'll be going at 7:35. Game time again tomorrow night as Tommy Hume opposes left-hander Jim Cott. Pre-game shows will start at 7:05 Cincinnati time. Right now, we're trailing 2-0 as the Phillies bat in the home 6th inning. Fastball and a good one over for a strike. 0-2. Now the long look to first base. Tomlin fires to the plate, and here's a bouncer off the end of the bat. That's going to be a foul ball right off to the right of the plate. Bench made the play on the bounce, but Dutch Renner signals foul. Two clubs, both of them, not here hitting nearly as well in 1978 as they have in recent years at Phillies, with a team batting average of .253. Cincinnati batting .262 coming into this one tonight. Low for a ball, 1-2. Of course, as Sparky and I discussed on pregame show yesterday, the fact that batting averages all over the National League, for the most part, are down. Runner at first, 1 man out. There goes the runner. They throw to Driessen. They may have a play on Cardenal and a high throw, but they still got him. Driessen to Concepcion as Tomlin threw to Danny. Cardenal was off and running, and Driessen with a quick throw to David, and Davey made a good play because the throw was up.
Well, might I tell you, Dave Tomlin could have gotten the ball over a little quicker. He had him picked off, and he more or less soft tossed it over to Driessen, causing Danny to really have to rush his throw to Concepcion to get Cardenal.
So the second out of the inning. Breaking pitches in the dirt and outside. 2-2 on Tim McCarver. Well, I guess the things you look to when you consider the averages being down is it seems like almost every club in the league from top to bottom, both divisions, has 3 or 4 good quality starting pitchers. There's ball 3, and then the influx of left-handers, probably more left-handed pitching in the National League this season than we've seen in a number of years. Tomlin with a string out on McCarver, and he walked him. So the Philadelphia 6th inning will continue as Ted Sizemore steps in. Back-to-back walks to Cardenal and McCarver, but Cardenal was caught stealing. Here's how to order your Reds tickets by mail. Send check or money order payable to Cincinnati Reds, Box 1970, Cincinnati. Box seats are $5, reserved $4. These enclose 50 cents with each order for postage and handling. Ted Sizemore bounces one to third. High bounce. Rose has it. Throws to Morgan. There's a force on McCarver, and the 6 for Philadelphia is history. The numbers, no runs, no hits in one lap. And we'll move to the final 3 innings of play with a score. Phillies 2, Reds nothing.
The first major upset in the Washington Star Tennis Championship has sent second-seeded Brian Godfrey to the sidelines in Washington. Godfrey was beaten in the second round by young player he sometimes coaches, Nick Saviano, by 7-6, 3-6, and 7-5. Saviano calls it his most important win as a professional, and he gives much of the credit to Godfrey's coaching. Meanwhile, third-seeded Eddie Dibbs won when his opponent, Romero Benavides of Colombia, quit in the second set because of an aching back. Dibbs' third-round opponent will be Australian Ken Rosewall, who beat 20-year-old Eric Eskersky by 6-4 and 6-1. Other second-round winners include Arthur Ashe, Harold Solomon, and Dick Stockton. A couple of baseball notes. The Chicago White Sox, the outfielder Wayne Nordhagen has contracted hepatitis, and the entire team must be inoculated as a precautionary measure. His illness was diagnosed last night. Bill Lucas started as an infield in Atlanta's Braves farm system. Today, he's vice president, director of the club.
Well, as we go to the 7th inning, the Reds have been checked on only 1 hit tonight by the left-hander Carlton, but still very much in this ball game. Only 2 runs down. Joe Morgan will lead it off, and back with a play. Here's Joe.
Thank you, Marty. Morgan Foster bench in the 7th. We need 2 to get even. The Reds with 1 hit, and that off the bat of Junior Kennedy, pinch hitting for Paul Moskau in the 6th inning. Reds with 2 walks off Carlton, and Morgan reached on an error by Richie Hebner in the 4th inning. Carlton starts his windup, and Morgan backs away from the plate. Well, apparently we got a base loose down at first base, and we're going to have a delay here while they bring another base out at first base. Lee Wire kicking it, and it came totally loose. And that is a loose base, if you pardon the expression. So we're going to have a break in the action here at Philadelphia, and right now we'll pause for this important message.
Last week's British Open champion, Jack Nicklaus, shapes up as the favorite in the Philadelphia Golf Classic this weekend. The event is a designated PGA tournament. Nicklaus won his 17th major tournament at St. Andrews, Scotland last weekend to end a 3-year drought in the big one. He will tee off at the White Marsh Valley Course Thursday for the first time since 1973. Nicklaus won back-to-back classics in 1964 and 65 and admits he obviously likes the course. Another 2-time winner is Tom Weiskopf. Jerry McGee is the defending champion who won by 4 strokes a year ago. With the ladies, 2-time national amateur champion Beth Daniels says it will take solid and straight shots to win the 26th edition of the U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship at Indianapolis this weekend. Daniel is considered by many in the field of 153 as a strong contender to become only the 2nd amateur ever to win the Women's Open. Heading the field are Jane Blaylock and rookie sensation and top money winner Nancy Lopez.
Well, we're ready to go now. The new base in place down at first, and Carlton delivers his first pitch to Morgan, and it's swung on and popped up. Shallow center, Ted Sizemore out, and Ted waiting on it and has it 1 away. One down, and George Foster steps in. George 0 for 2, grounded to third in the 2nd. Hit a soft liner to Boy in the 4th inning, and Boy's throw back to Hebner doubled up Morgan, who had reached on an error to complete the double play. Carlton works, Foster takes. At the knees, a called strike. And I'll tell you this, Carlton tonight has really kept the ball down, stepping for a couple of pitches. Struck out Rose on a high fastball in the 6th. Foster backs away from the plate, now steps back in. 2-0 Phillies lead. Carlton delivers. Foster swings and misses. 0-2. Carlton really acting as if he wants that 200th victory tonight. Pitching very well the pitch. Up high as Foster checks his swing on a fastball. 1-2 to count. Carlton, the 1-2. That's just off the plate outside. And even at 2 balls, 2 strikes. A wide and the 2-2. Swung on and missed. That ball a foot inside, a breaking pitch. Carlton has his 6th strikeout, and it gives him 93 on the year. 2 away, and Johnny Bench the batter. John, his last time up, lined hard to Luzinski in left field in the 4th inning. The Reds with just 1 hit off Carlton through 6 2/3 innings. Carlton delivers. Bench takes it high, a ball. Carlton, his 21st start of the year with 5 complete games, the 1-0. Bench swings, hits it well to left field. Going by Luzinski, looking up, and it's off the wall. Bench makes the turn. Here's Luzinski's throw, and John will have to hold it first. Luzinski playing the ball perfectly off the wall in left field, and Bench has to hold up with a long single. 2nd hit of the game for the Reds, and Dave Concepcion, the batter. Dave 0 for 2, struck out in the second inning and a fly ball to right in the fifth. Now at Pittsburgh in the third inning, the Pirates lead the Dodgers 3-2. Atlanta leading Montreal 6-3 in the ninth at Montreal. San Diego 3, St. Louis 1 in the second at St. Louis. Houston will be at New York in the second game of the doubleheader. Houston winning the first. High and outside, Carlton's fastball. 1-0 to Concepcion. Dave has 3 home runs on the year and 38 RBIs. The stretch and the pitch. High and outside, and it goes 2 balls, no strikes. Phillies getting runs, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth. So over to first, bench steps back. 1 in the fourth inning, a Luzinski home run, and then in the fifth, a Carlton triple and single off the bat of Bowa. Carlton delivers a breaking ball high. 3-0 the count to David. Ken Henderson on deck. Carlton has the sign. And the 3-0. That's through the heart of the plate. Called strike. 3-1. Three-one pitch. Swung on, line foul down the right side and in the seats. Phillies with a twilighter Friday night against the Astros. Of course, Houston playing a doubleheader tonight in New York. Of course, when the Reds return home off this trip, they'll have a twilighter with Philadelphia a week from Friday. Pitch swung on, line drive, center field. Bench will move to second. He'll hold right there. So back-to-back 2-out singles here in the seventh inning. And Ken Henderson, the batter. Ken 0 for 2. Or 0 for 1, rather. Walked in the second inning, struck out in the fifth, and they're going to get some activity down in the Philadelphia bullpen. Reds now with 3 hits in the game. Ollie Eastwick, we would imagine, or Ron Reed. We'll wait and see. Pitch to Henderson, swung on and missed. Ken has hit 1 home run this year, and that's while with the Mets. Has driven in 7 and has 5 doubles. Good spot for number 2 right here. Carlton has given up 18 home runs this year. The pitch swung on and a foul tip out of the mid of Tim McCarver, 0-2. The American League, Boston and Milwaukee, no score, second inning. New York, Minnesota, no score, second. Same at Baltimore and Chicago in the second. The 0-2. Outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. One final in the American League. Detroit beating Oakland 5-4. So Matt Kehoe, the loser in that one. One ball, 2 strikes to Henderson. Bench at second, Concepcion at first. Now the bluff throw back to second, and bench is back as Carlton does not throw the ball. Steve asked for another set of signs from Tim McCarver. And the stretch. The pitch. Henderson swings and hits it deep to left field. Stay fair baseball. Stay fair, and it is, and the Reds lead it 3-2. Well, we got our wish, and they wanted Kenny to hit his first as a Red, and he does it right here in the 7th inning. The Reds in front 3-2. And now with 10 RBIs on the air, that's just the 4th hit of the game for Cincinnati off Steve Carlton. What a big one. 19 home runs now that Carlton has allowed, and that a big one. All right, here's Dan Driessen. The Reds have scored 3 times. Carlton delivers the breaking ball high. That ball hit very high, and it was fair by quite a bit. 1-0. Driessen swings, ground ball. Sizemore second has it. Goes on to Hebner, and that's the inning. Front the Reds. After 2 out, we got singles from Bench Concepcion and Ken Henderson. 3-run homer, and we lead it by a score of 3-2. The Reds 3 runs, 3 hits, no errors, no one left on. And at the middle of the 7th, Cincinnati 3, Philadelphia 2.
Warren Cromartie belted a grand slam homer tonight with 1 out in the 9th inning to lift the Montreal Expos to an 8-6 victory over the Atlanta Braves in the first of a doubleheader at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Trailing 6-3, Andre Dawson doubled for the Expos with 1 out in the 9th. Ellis Valentine walked, and Tony Perez singled home the first run off loser Gene Garber. An error by third baseman Bob Horner allowed Larry Parrish to reach first and load the bases before Cromartie hit his 5th homer this season and first career grand slam. Mike Garman, now 1-2, pitched the 9th inning to gain his first win as an Expo. Let's check some other ball games. We have the starting pitchers in the game at Milwaukee in the American League. Mike Torres for Boston, Larry Sorensen for Milwaukee. Baltimore at Chicago pitchers are in. Jim Palmer for the Orioles, Ken Kradick for the White Sox. Texas at Kansas City, warming up at Kansas City at Royal Stadium for the Rangers, Ferguson Jenkins, and for the Royals, young Rich Gale.
For the Phillies in the 7th, it'll be Steve Carlton to lead it off, but it's going to be Jerry Martin hitting for Carlton. So Martin will go to the plate to hit for Carlton. Martin hitting .299 with 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. Pinch hitting this year. Martin has had 6 hits and 15 times up as a pinch hitter. 2 home runs and 4 hits, rather, and has driven in 6. So Dave Tomlin on the mound. Paul Moskau off the hook. Paul worked 5 innings, allowed 8 hits, struck out 5, walked 1, and 2 runs, both earned. The Reds take a 3-2 lead on the strength of a 3-run homer off the bat of Ken Henderson. Waiting on Martin to loosen up. It'll be Martin, Maddox, and Boy here in the 7th inning for the Phils. Martin just now stepping in. Martin from Columbia, South Carolina. 6'1", 195 pounds a pitch. He takes a strike at the knees from Tomlin. That's Tug McGraw and Ron Reed throwing in the Philadelphia bullpen. Tomlin to the plate. Martin swings on a curve. Doesn't get it. 0-2. Tomlin shakes off a sign to Bench and now delivers. Curve just off the plate, and Bench ready to throw to Rose, but Renner sees it better, and it's a ball, 2 strikes. Martin away from the plate, now steps back in. And the 1-2. Curve, did he go far enough? They say yes, and a strikeout for Dave Tomlin. 1 away, and the batter will be Garry Maddox. Martin trying to check his swing and got out too far, and Dutch Renner did not hesitate in calling. 1 away, and Maddox steps in. Maddox 0 for 3, struck out in the first, popped to short in the third, grounded to short in the 5th. Maddox hitting .290. Tomlin delivers. Maddox takes outside and low ball. Maddox, the right-handed batter. Tomlin back to the plate. Gary swings and fouls a curveball off his leg and his left shin, to be exact. Now 1-1. Ball of strike to count to Garry Maddox with one out here in the 7th inning. The Reds leading 3-2. Dave Tomlin, second inning of work, delivers. Maddox takes it outside. 2-1 the count. Dave winds and delivers. Swung on, that's line to left field, a base hit. Foster plays it. Maddox hitting a curveball that was up and into left field, and we'll pause for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Reds Baseball Network.
This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
SCN Canal Zone.
Danny Bench at the mound talking with Dave Tomlin. Larry Bowa, the batter. Larry, a perfect night to this point. 3 for 3 and an RBI, all from the left side. And this is his first time up right-handed. Now Larry Shepard, the Reds pitching coach, headed to the mound to have a chat with Dave Tomlin. Doug Baer throwing down in the Cincinnati bullpen. Inning started off with Jerry Martin hitting for Steve Carlton and striking out. And then Maddox, the liner to left for a base hit. Shepard at the mound talking with Tomlin and Bench. Phillies now with 9 hits in the game. They've out-hit the Reds 9-4. Big hit in the game to this point. Ken Henderson's 3-run homer, his first since joining the Reds. Maddox leaves at first. A stretch by Tomlin and the pitch. Bowa swings and hits it down the right field line. Griffey on the run, and he makes the play. Fair territory. Well, Kenny, I think, thought he was close to the fence and really held up and reached out and was able to make the play. So a fine play by Griffey certainly saves us a run right there with the speed of Maddox and Bowa. 2 away, and here's Mike Schmidt. Mike 1 for 3 has struck out in the first, popped out in the third, and doubled to left in the 5th. They're throwing in the Reds bullpen. Like Doug McGraw is going to be the pitcher for the Phillies in the top of the 8th inning. Greg Luzinski on deck. Maddox a good lead at first. The stretch and the pitch. Schmidt swings, lines it into right field, then Griffey will play it on the bounce. Maddox will hold at second. Line drive to wide right, and Mike Schmidt with his second base hit of the game, and that'll bring Greg Luzinski to the plate. Greg 1 for 2, and that won a home run in the 4th inning, his 22nd of the year. Struck out in the 5th, and back in the 1st inning, walked. Maddox at second base, Schmidt at first base with 2 out. Here comes Sparky, and that's going to be it for Thomas. Dave works an inning and 2/3. Doug Baer will come on to face Greg Luzinski. And he started off with Martin striking out and Maddox is single. Bowa out on a fine play by Ken Griffey going toward the line and picking off the liner off the bat of Bowa, backhanded, and then Schmidt singled to right. Well, you're going to have a pitching change. It's going to be Doug Baer coming on from the Reds bullpen to break in the action, and we'll be back after these words.
NASCAR Grand National champion Richard Petty says the decision to switch from a Dodge to a Chevrolet was made after the July 4th running of the Firecracker 400 at Daytona, Florida. That's Daytona Beach, Florida. When we went to Daytona, we had ruled out switching, but Daytona was the straw that broke the camel's back, said Petty in a recent telephone interview from his home after the switch was announced. He finished 4th at Daytona, but was never really in contention. The car just didn't do what we wanted it to do down there, he says. It ran okay and handled okay, but it wasn't what we had expected. The car, coupled with the fact there was no mid-season rule changes to make the Dodge more competitive were the deciding factors. Teddy, a winner of a 185 Grand National event, announced the other day that after a winless year behind the wheel of a Dodge, he has purchased a new Chevrolet Monte Carlo from independent driver Cecil Gordon, and another car will probably be purchased later this season. The last car for the Dodge Mangum will be August 6th in the Talladega 500 at the Alabama International Motor Speedway.
New pitcher for the Reds, Doug Bear. Doug making his 39th appearance of the year. He is 1-4 and lost 3 with a fine 164 earned run average. 54 and 2/3 innings. Bear has allowed 43 hits, has struck out 47, and has walked 20, and Doug with 15 saves to his credit. Well, he'll be facing Greg Luzinski with 2 out and runners at first and second. Schmidt at first base, Maddox at second. All right, we're ready to go. Luzinski steps in. Bear worked a couple of innings in the game Monday night against the Mets. First pitch to Luzinski, he takes low ball. Hebner on deck. Reds leading 3-2. Been out hit by the Phillies 10-4. Bear delivers, and that's fine inside, and Luzinski get out of there. Good fastball, and the count 2 balls, no strike. Bear to the belt, and the pitch. Swung on, that's bounced to Rose, wide of third. Running throw to Morgan, they get the force of Mike Schmidt, and that's the inning. Doug Bear comes on and gets the job done. For the Phillies, no runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 runners left on base, and the end of 7. Cincinnati 3, Philadelphia 2.
The Athletic Committee of the University of Maryland's Board of Regents has nominated Carl James, the executive director of the Sugar Bowl, to be the school's next athletic director. The full board is expected to approve the appointment Thursday. The 49-year-old James would succeed Jim Kehoe, who is retiring on September 1st. James served 5 years as athletic director at Duke before resigning last summer to direct the Sugar Bowl. Some more notes. Coach George Allen of the L.A. Rams has been fined $3,000 by National Football League Commissioner Pete Rozelle for public statements denouncing his former club, the Washington Redskins. Allen was also warned for possibly tampering with Redskins quarterback Billy Kilmer. And the New England Patriots have signed the #1 draft choice. He's Alabama lineman Bob Kreider. Although Kreider was a guard in college, Coach Chuck Fairbanks believes he may give the Patriots protection at offensive tackle. Leon Gray, the club's starting left tackle, has not yet agreed to contract terms.
Well, the totals for 7 innings show the Reds 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors. The Phils 2 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error. New pitcher on the mound for Philadelphia. To tell you about him, here's Marty.
Okay, Joe, the new pitcher, left-hander Tug McGraw, and I'll tell you, he's done quite a job for this Philadelphia bunch this season. Tug with a record of 8-3, and in 34 appearances, all, of course, in relief. He has saved 7 ball games and has posted an earned run average of .217. One of the 3 losses coming to Cincinnati back on the 13th of May right here when the Reds got to him for 2 hits and 2 runs in the 9th inning to defeat him 4-3. 3-2, the Reds out in front as we move to the 8th inning. And to lead it off for Cincinnati will be Doug Bear, then Pete Rose, and then Ken Griffey. Pitching line on Steve Carlton. 7 innings, he allowed 4 hits. 3 runs all earned with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. And the line on Dave Tomlin, who stands to win this game if Bear can take care of him in the final 2 turns. An inning and 2/3. He gave up 2 hits, struck out a batter, and walked a pair. Well, Tug McGraw calling Tim McCarver out to have a word with his catcher before Bear moves in. Reds have had but 4 base hits, but of course a big blow coming in the 7th inning, a 3-run home run by Ken Henderson. Last 5 games, McGraw has won 1 and lost 1. Feisty little left-hander winds up and delivers, and Bear takes a strike. Well, they had quite a thrilling climax to the first game between Atlanta and Montreal tonight. Warren Cromartie hit a grand slam home run in the bottom of the ninth to give the Expos an 8-6 win. Bear fouls it away. Mike Garman, the winning pitcher. Gene Garber, the loser. Ellis Valentine also homered for the winning Expos. Pitcher against pitcher. McGraw to Bear. Up high for a ball, 1-2. In the fourth inning, Milwaukee leading Boston 2-0. Two balls, two strikes. They're checking his swing, and let's see. They get the ruling. No, from Lee Wire at first base, and that'll be a strikeout swinging charged against Bear. So here comes number 14, and what well could be his final shot at extending a hitting streak that is at 31 games. Pete tonight has bounced to second, bounced to third. In the sixth inning, Carlton struck him out. Facing McGraw, and the pitch to the plate is taken low. We mentioned the fact that 5 times in this hitting streak, Pete has gone to his last time up before getting a hit. That's ball 2, 2-0. Mike Schmidt backing up a few steps now at third base. Rose checks him out at third, and here comes a 2-0, and that's high and outside, ball 3. Thus far, Pete has not had a pitch to hit at.
Well, I really think Mike Schmidt wants Pete to bunt.
And that one swung on and missed, so they turn Pete loose on the 3-0. I'll tell you, Schmidt is really playing deep at third. Now he backs up even 2 more steps. McGraw sends it in, and Rose swings and shoots it down the right field line, but that ball is going to be a foul ball. Pete Rose turns and says something to Ron Plaza. Pete thought it was fair, but Lee Wire was right down on the line, and at least from our vantage point, there wasn't much question about the ball going foul. Pete with a bit of a grin on his face as he comes back to the plate, so 3-2 on him. Dutch Renard nodding his head up and down, I'm sure, backing up the call by Wire. So Pete staring out toward the mound. McGraw studies the sign from McCarver. 3-2 pitch. It's on the way. And that is ball 4 high. And McCarver is all upset. He feels like Pete offered at the pitch. But Rose goes on down to first base as McCarver still gives it to Dutch Renard. They put Pete on at first with a walk, and it looked like he started around on the pitch. No question about that. And McCarver's convinced that he swung at it, and he's really giving it to Renard. Now Danny Ozark is going to come out. Renard calling Ozark over, and boy, I'll tell you, Tim McCarver has all been out of shape. So we could see the end of the hitting streak tonight. As Pete gave it a good shot with that drive down the right field line that sliced foul, and on the next pitch that comes high, he gets a walk. Meanwhile, Danny Ozark not nearly as upset as Tim McCarver. And now out at second base, Ted Sizemore has been thrown out by Ed Montague. Ted Sizemore got into it with the second base umpire. He's having to be restrained by Larry Bowa. And a bit of controversy in the 8th inning has resulted in Sizemore being thrown out, and he is really giving it to Ed Montague now. Meanwhile, McCarver has calmed down a bit, but still carrying his argument to Dutch Renard. We're going to have a new Philadelphia second baseman because Sizemore's gotten the heave-ho. Now Danny Ozark has gone out to second base. He's making the rounds. He first started at home plate with Renard. Now he's out at second arguing with Montague, and Ted Sizemore still upset. As Buddy Harrelson comes out of the Philadelphia dugout, he will go to play second.
Well, Marty, sometimes guys make remarks. If there was anybody else but Pete Rose, it would have been a strike, something like that. And apparently, I don't know that that was it, but we'll think about it a little bit. And Mr. Montague didn't really care for that remark and said he was still out there, but he will make his way to the dugout.
Yes, he will.
Harrelson will take his place.
Oh, a very upset Ted Sizemore, glove in hand. Heads onto the Philadelphia dugout, accompanied by his skipper, Danny Ozark. And Bud Harrelson is now at second base. So Pete Rose has gotten a walk. And Ken Griffey will bat off McGraw with one out.
Marty, I really don't know that Dutch Renner asked Lee Wire, the first base umpire, at this moment, whether he did, ask for a ruling. But I think that was the whole argument as far as Tim McCarver goes, getting that help. And I don't know that Dutch did or not.
Well, be that as it may, Rose is a base runner. Here's Ken Griffey. Kenny's 0 for 3. McGraw delivers, and the pitch is foul back. Reds have had but 4 hits tonight, while Philadelphia has banged out a total of 10. Win for Cincinnati would allow them to gain a half game on the Giants, who split a pair with the Cubs today. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. And the Dodgers are currently losing by a score of 6-3 in Pittsburgh. Dave Parker's hit a 2-run home run in the 5th inning with his 15th of the year, and the Dodgers are playing that game under protest following a catcher's interference call. Pitch swung on and hit down the left field line. Luzinski running toward foul territory, but the ball will drop foul and out of play. Griffey standing off to the right of the batter's box as McGraw waits on the mound. They're struck out to begin the 8th. Rose draws a walk, and the 0-2 pitch again to Griffey. Swung on, ground ball, base hit right field. Harrelson started after it, knew he didn't have a play. Here comes Pete to third. Here comes Cardenal's throw. He's going to be safe, and Griffey moves to second. As we have seen him do so many times. Not too many better going from first to third in this game, and that time he moves to third base, and with a throw coming from Cardenal that way, Griffey goes to second. So the Reds have a chance to tack on some more runs. Joe Morgan at the plate. The Philadelphia infield is up. Joe is 0 for 3, and with first base open, they are going to walk him. And we may see Danny Ozark then make another pitching change and bring on the right-hander Ron Reed to face George Foster. Morgan getting an intentional walk. There's ball 4, and Joe will go down to first base, and that will load him up for the Reds. Rose third, Griffey second, Morgan at first. Joe looking into the Philadelphia dugout to see whether or not Danny Ozark is going to come out. Foster slowly making his way towards the plate. George is bounced to third, lined into a double play, and he struck out. Here comes Ozark. And let's see if he'll bring on Ron Reed. We would certainly suspect that that would be the Philadelphia manager's move here. Reds have loaded him up with only one man down, and Foster will be the hitter. And now the call goes down for right-hander Ron Reed. So Todd McGraw is only around a third of an inning. After striking out Bear, he walked Rose. Griffey singled. Morgan gets an intentional walk. And Ron Reed will come out of that Philadelphia bullpen to try and kill off the Cincinnati bid to put some more markers on the board. Well, the attendance here at Veterans Stadium tonight as Ron Reed heads in toward the mound, 45,608. 45,608 on hand. The Philadelphia bullpen has been, in a word, outstanding. Lately, it's been Warren Brewster, Doug McGraw, Ron Reed, and, of course, with the addition of Raleigh Eastwick, who's done a pretty good job. Ron Reed with a record of, well, oddly enough, no wins or losses. But going out 34 times in relief, he has saved 8 games and shows an earned run average of 240. Reed has made 3 appearances against the Reds this season, and in 2 1/3 innings total has allowed 1 hit, no runs, with a couple of strikeouts and a walk. Philadelphia got the scoring underway in the 4th inning when Greg Luzinski hit a home run to left center field, his 22nd of the year, and then they made it 2-0 in the 5th when Carlton led off with a triple to right center, and 1 out later came in to score on a single to right field by Larry Bowa. The Reds held hitless until the leadoff pinch single in the 6th inning by Junior Kennedy. Finally got some runs on the board in the 7th inning, and it started after 2 men had been retired. Bench single to left, Concepcion lined a single to center, and Kenny Henderson hit his first home run in a Cincinnati uniform to left field to turn the 2-0 deficit into a 3-2 Cincinnati lead, and that's where we stand right now. Reed still loosening up with McCarver. And George Foster will now head on in toward the plate to bat off the Philadelphia right-hander. Third Phillies pitcher. Carlton, McGraw, and now Reed. The Reds have used 3. Moskau went 5. Tomlin an inning and 2/3. Bear came on in the last of the 7th to get a big ground out off the bat of Greg Luzinski. So George is due, and what a better time for a base hit than right now with the sacks loaded. Reed, hands on knees, looks in for the sign, and now the stretch and the pitch. Foster takes a strike away. Pitch getting the outside corner. Right-hander Warren Brewster keeps the fires burning in the Philadelphia bullpen. That's strike 2 call. George did not like that call by Dutch Rennert. He thought the pitch was low, or certainly reacted that way. Reed with 2 excellently placed pitches. And Foster down, no balls and 2 strikes. Reed comes set, steps off the pitching rubber, looks around. Runners leading at every base, the outfield deep and around toward left. Pitching Reed. Taking Foster low and outside, 1-2. Base hit right now could pretty much break this ball game wide open. Foster fouls it off. Now, Philadelphia pitching up to this point tonight has certainly quieted George's bat after being on a real home run tear coming into this series. 4 homers in the last 3 ball games. Reed checking the runners, kicks and fires. Foster swings and pulls it foul to left field. They're trying to win their 5th in the last 6 games after having a 4-game winning streak snapped last night and trying to send the Phillies down to their 5th loss in the last 6. Foster fouls another one back. Ron Reed throwing nothing but strikes on a holding 1-ball, 2-strike count. County bench on deck, the infield for the Phils, a double play depth. Pitch on the way, and another foul. This one off first and back into the seat. Foster has not hit a home run against the Phillies in 1978. This normally has been a ballpark that he has really enjoyed hitting in. He had a couple of home runs May a year ago off the scoreboard in right center that they say are the two longest balls hit by a right-handed batter to that sector of the park. Inside. Buzzed him letter high with a fastball. 2-2. Rose third, Griffey second, Morgan at first. 2 balls and 2 strikes on the waiting Foster. He swings and sends it to deep left center field. He hit a bunch, and that's a grand slam home run. George Foster hammers a grand slam to left center field. And the Reds have taken a 7-2 lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, his 23rd of the year. And boy, what a time for his first against Philadelphia pitching this season. That gives him an RBI total on the year of 76. And his 5th career Grand Slam home run. Here's Johnny Bench now. The first pitch is ball 1. Well, the Reds have indeed broken this one wide open. Bench swings at a high fastball. The count's level at a ball and 1 strike. Luzinski tied him for home run leadership with that blast in the 4th inning, and Foster, 4 innings later, takes it over again. Grounder just foul at third base off Bench's bat. And we might also point out that home run ties George for Major League leadership. Jim Rice, who got off to that unbelievable start, has tailed off considerably in the last month or so. So George has equaled the Major League high of Jimmy Rice of the Boston Red Sox, and they've each hit 23. 1-2 pitch to Bench. Swung on. There's a shot to deep left. If it stays fair, it's a home run, and that's going to be a foul ball. Tell you one thing, Mr. Foster and Mr. Bench getting their whacks in here on Ron Reed. One ball and 2 strikes on Bench, who has gone 1 for 2 with a walk and a run scored tonight. Here's a swing and a fly ball into a center field. That's going to drop for a base hit. So John continues his 2-hit performance. That's his 6th 2-hit game since the All-Star break. The grand slam by Foster moves him into a tie for 3rd place on the all-time Reds list with Frank Robinson. Theta Pinson has hit 6, and of course Johnny Bench is the all-time club leader in grand slams with 8. Well, the beat goes on for the Reds here in the 8th inning. Dave Concepcion with a strikeout, a fly to right, and a base hit in the 7th inning. Both he and Bench were on base when Henderson hit the home run. Now time call as Concepcion steps out, because we're going to get a runner at first base for Bench and Rick Auerbach. Only one man out in the inning, and that was the leadoff batter, Doug Bear, who McGraw struck out. Rose walked, Griffey singled. Morgan was intentionally walked. Foster homers, Bench singles, and Concepcion takes the ball. The Reds lead the Phillies 7-2. Check swing and a call strike. 1-1. Check swing and a call strike. 1-1. Pitches high, 2 balls and a strike. Dick Carrell running in from the Reds bullpen behind the left field fence. He'll be coming on to catch in the bottom of the 8th. Davey fouls it off and down the right side out of play. For the crowd here tonight, the Philadelphia season total in home plate attendance, 1,364,760. Davey fouls another one off, and the count holds at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Close the book on Tug McGraw. He goes a third of an inning, gives up a hit. 3 runs all earned with 2 walks and a strikeout. Davey strikes out swinging on a fastball in. 2 down, and here's the man who turned it around in the last inning. Center fielder Ken Henderson. His first home run as a Red, his second of the year, cutting off Carlton with Bench and Concepcion aboard in the 7th. Gave the Reds a 3-2 lead. Foster's grand slam has widened the gap to 7-2. Strike is called. Here's a throw to first, and Auerbach dives back into the bag. Pitch. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes. I'll tell you, you got some people who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. You can turn one around in a hurry. Carlton breezing along with a 2-0 lead. Here's a bouncing ball second. Harrelson flipping on to Boa as they got the 4th on Auerbach and end the inning. The Reds in the 8th get 4 runs on 3 base hits, no errors, and 1 man left on, and after 7.5, the Reds 7 and the Phillies.
Here's more on that injury to Mike Sadek of the Giants. He had suffered a broken jaw in that baseline collision in Chicago tonight. Will be flown to Stanford Hospital Thursday in California to have his jaw wired. Sadek again collided with Cubs shortstop Ivan DeJesus in the second game of a twin bill. Both players were stunned while the Giant catcher was carried off. DeJesus left under his own power. Giants general manager Spec Richardson with the club in Chicago said the catcher's jaw was fractured in 2 places, but termed Sadek's general condition is good. After his jaw is wired at the Stanford Medical Center, Sadek will be out of action from 6 to 8 weeks. Ironically, the Giants picked up John Tamargo from the St. Louis Cardinals on Tuesday to beef up the catching corps. To make room for Tamargo, who has some big league experience, the Giants returned Dennis Littlejohn to their Phoenix Farm Club. He can't be recalled for at least 10 days. Richardson said the Giants will go with Mark Hill and Tamargo for the present, and in emergency will use Mike Ivey, a former catcher now playing first, third, and the outfield. Let's pause now for station identification. This is the American Forces Radio and Television Service.
SCN Canal Zone.
Phillies are 5 down as they come calling in the bottom of the 8th inning, and it'll be Richie Hebner to start it off against Doug Baer, then Cardenal, and then McCarver. We've got a couple of changes for Cincinnati. Dick Carrell has come in to catch, and Cesar Geronimo has replaced Henderson in center field. Hebner hitless in his first 3 times up in the game, facing Doug Baer as the pitch comes in, and it's low for a ball. American League scores: New York, Minnesota, 0-0 in the second. Baltimore, Chicago, likewise in inning number 2. Kansas City with a 9-0 lead on Texas in the 4th as Hebner swings and he misses. That L.A.-Pittsburgh game is now in the 8th inning, and the Pirates continue to enjoy a 3-run cushion at 6-3. Strike 2 call. Doug taking something off the fastball and splitting the heart of the plate with it. San Diego leading the Cardinals 5-2 after 4.5. Strike 3 call. Hebner knew it. Like Richie was looking for the fastball, and Baer didn't give it to him. 1 away. Here's Cardenal. He was on in the 6th inning with a walk. He's 0 for 2 on the night. Indianapolis at Oklahoma City tonight, and no score in that game through 5.5. Danny Dumoulin after his 9th win of the season. So while the big clubs are meeting in Philadelphia, the AAA clubs are battling in Oklahoma City. Cardenal fouls the pitch off. McCarver on deck. Pitch is on the outside corner, strike 2 call. Bear can pick up a save in this game, and it would be his 16th of the season. No balls and 2 strikes on Jose Cardenal, and he lines one into center, but Geronimo is there and puts it away. 2 out. Now McCarver, who's had a perfect night with 2 singles and a walk. Phillies have out-hit the Reds 10-7, but a couple of big home runs. 3-run blast by Henderson, grand slam by Foster have accounted for all 7 of the Reds' runs. Pitch to McCarver, strike to him, or make it ball 1. That's high, a fastball, 2-0 on McCarver. Well, as things turn out, Pete Rose will in fact get another shot at extending his hitting streak in the 9th inning. There's strike 1 call. It'll be Driessen to lead it off, then Bear, and then Rose in the top of the 9th against Ron Reed. 2-1 to count on Tim, and that strike 2 call. Barry Foote now making his way into the Philadelphia dugout. He's the one of 3 catchers on the Phil's club, in addition to McCarver and Bob Boone, who will in all likelihood be behind the plate tomorrow night to catch Jim Cott. Head high, ball 3, full count. And ball 4 gives McCarver a second walk of the night. That will bring Bud Harrelson to the plate. Bud came into the game in the top of the 8th inning after Sizemore had been thrown out for arguing with second base umpire Ed Montague. Harrelson, a .200 batter with no homers and a couple of RBIs. He takes a strike. I'm talking about the season's paid attendance for the Phillies with this crowd of 45,608 tonight of 1,364,760. Here's a bouncer over the mound. Morgan fields. He'll go to the bag for the force out that ends the inning. We'll carry the thought through when we move to the 9th inning. Right now in the 8th for Philadelphia, no runs, no hits, and 1 left. And after 8, the Reds lead the Phillies 7-2. Top-seeded Jimmy Connors struggled to a 7-5, 6-2 victory Wednesday night in Washington over little-known Australian Terry Rockavert in a second-round match of the $175,000 Washington Star International Tennis Championship. Connors, playing in his first tournament since losing in the Wimbledon final 10 days ago, kept his opponent in the match by committing numerous unforced errors. He jumped in front 2-love when he broke Rockavert's serve in the first game of the match. Each player held service until Rockavert tied the set at 5-5, breaking Connors' serve in game number 10 when his backhand shot caught the baseline. But Connors won the set when he broke back in game number 11 and held serve in game number 12. Rockavert held the 1-0 lead in the second set, a 1-love lead, but Connors sewed up the match when he roared ahead 5-2, breaking Rockavert's serve 3 times. We told you earlier, unseeded Nick Saviano scored a second-round upset, beating number 2 seeded Brian Gottfried of Florida 7-6, 3-6, 7-5 in a 2-hour-and-a-half match. Of the first of this 2-game series in Philadelphia, the Reds enjoy a 5-run lead at 7-2, and Ron Reed, who served up that grand slam home run to Foster in the 8th, is back here in the 9th to work to Danny Driessen. Danny has struck out, popped up, and grounded out. We've got Barry Foote now doing the Philadelphia catching. Here's a pitch to Driessen, and he takes it high for a ball. We were talking about the attendance and the fact that Philadelphia had drawn with 1,364,760. Swung on at a high fly ball along the right field line. That's heading toward out of play area and will drop out of play. The executive vice president of the Phillies, Bill Giles, has stated that in order for this franchise to break even this season, they need to draw $2.6 million in home paid attendance. So, in rough figures, the Phillies are about halfway there. 1 ball, 1 strike on Driessen. Danny takes the pitch from Reed high, 2-1. Ball 3 is upstairs. The Philadelphia bullpen, which has done such a fine job for manager Ozark this season, having an off night tonight, as bullpens will have. Strike 2 call. McGraw was unable to do it in the 8th. He gave way to Reed with the bases loaded. Foster promptly left on him with his 23rd home run. And Danny Driessen is called out on strike. Credit Reed with his 2nd strikeout and bring to the plate Doug Bears. Doug led off the 8th and struck out swinging. Strike is called. So Pete Rose on deck because of that big 8th inning, getting one more chance. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes. And foul back there, wasting a 0-2 strike pitch from Ron Reed by fouling it straight back and out of play. Pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Now, if you hear the crowd reaction in the background, they know full well what's on the line in this at-bat for Pete Rose. In the 8th, he worked a 3-2 count from Tug McGraw after fouling one down the right field line that just missed by inches of being fair. He ended up with a walk and was on base when Foster hit the grand slam. Now he's back in the 9th with 2 outs. Needing a base hit. He bunts third base side. Here's Schmidt. He can't make a play. Base hit. Pete Rose has extended it to 32 in a row with a bunt single. And now they come to their feet all over this massive ballpark in a standing ovation. As Pete Rose drops the bunt third base side, Schmidt charged, tried to barehand it, and could not find the handle. And they are still standing and still applauding here in Philadelphia. Boy, I'll tell you, the tension continues to mount for this guy. He is now 5 away from tying the National League record for the longest hitting streak, set in 1945 by Tommy Holmes when he hit in 37 straight games. So that pretty much makes the night complete. Ken Griffey in now with 2 down. He swings and he misses, and boy, did Reed Evermore have something on that pitch. Check swing foul ball by Kenny, and he's behind at 2 strikes. So the 32 games in a row. We're looking at the hitting streaks of all time. You go back a long time before anybody has hit in more than that. Griffey takes the pitch low. 33 games. Heine Manouche of the Washington Senators in 1933. Rogers Hornsby of the Cardinals hit in 33 games in 1922. No, you're going back a few years. Foul back by Kenny. So Heine Manouche, 1933 with Washington, hit in 33 games in a row, and Hornsby of the Cardinals in 1922 did it. Now, Pete will be trying to make it 33 straight tomorrow night against Jim Cott. Rose at first with 2 out in the 9th inning. The Reds lead 7-2. Griffey bounces it foul. Reed with a stretch. He pitches, and Griffey grounds one to first baseman Hebner. Richie will take a left turn to the bag and end the inning. For the Reds of the night, no runs on 1 hit. A big hit. Rose's bunt single that extends his hitting streak to 32 games. And at the end of 8 1/2, the Reds 7 and the Phillies 2.
American League score from Comiskey Park in Chicago after 4 innings of play. Baltimore leading Chicago by 6, 7-1. Final from Pittsburgh, Dave Parker dealt a 2-run homer, and Jim Rooker aided his own cause with a sacrifice fly to lead the Pittsburgh Pirates to a 6-3 victory over Los Angeles and a game played on the protest by the Dodgers. Rooker, now 5-6, surrendered 8 hits, struck out 4, and walked 3 in going the first 8 frames, while Ken Secalzi pitched the final inning to notch his 16th save. Doug Rao, 10-5, gave up all the Pirate runs in taking the loss. The controversy arose in the 4th inning, and the Bucks leading 3-2 with Bill Robinson on third base and 1 out. Rennie Stennett lofted a sacrifice fly to right. While the ball was in play, home plate umpire Jerry Tata signaled interference on Dodger catcher Joe Ferguson. The umpires offered Pirate manager Chuck Tanner the choice of accepting the interference, which would have left Robinson on third base and put Stennett on first, or taking the action of the play, which saw Robinson score the eventual winning run. Tanner chose the latter, and a protest was lodged by Dodger manager Tom Lasorda.
We're in the bottom of the 9th inning, a 5-run lead for Cincinnati as Davy Johnson steps in to pinch hit for pitcher Ron Reed. Johnson has of late been on the sick list. He bruised his right foot from a foul ball a short time ago, so Kenny Ozark has been somewhat thin in terms of bench strength. Johnson batting .200 with 2 homers and 14 RBIs. Both home runs this season have been pinch hit grand slam home runs. He takes the ball. Swung on and bounced to short. Concepcion. He throws on to Danny Driessen. That's the first 9th inning out. We'll bring up the leadoff batter, Garry Maddox, who's single in 4 trips. Maddox, I'll tell you, boy, is he ever slow getting to the plate. There, waiting out on the mound, he swings the bat in the on-deck circle. Now finally comes up there. Bear came on in the 7th inning when the Phillies were threatening after the Reds had taken a 3-2 lead. Got Luzinski to bounce to Rose, who threw on to second for a 4th that ended the inning. Walked McCarver in the 8th. That's the only base runner since he's been in there. Here's a high towering foul ball off first base. Strike 1 pitch. Maddox swings and fouls at the feet of Vic Carell. Strike 2. And he struck him out swinging with a pitch down and in. So 2 out in the 9th inning for Philadelphia. Larry Bowa, who's had 3 singles and 4 trips tonight and was robbed of what would have been an extra base hit and possibly a run-scoring hit on a fine play by Ken Griffey racing toward the foul line in the 7th inning. Oh, only 4 points away now from 300. He grounds it over the mound. Morgan will play it near second, throwing to first, and this one belongs to the Reds. In the 9th inning, Philadelphia goes out in order. Another good comeback for Cincinnati tonight as they win their 5th game in the last 6 tries. A 7-2 win over Philadelphia. We'll be back in just a moment.
This win by Cincinnati gives them 54 wins and 39 losses in the National League West. The Giants already split a doubleheader at Wrigley Field, Chicago earlier. So the Dodgers right now are 2 games behind San Francisco, virtually tied. In fact, tied with the exact record of the LA Dodgers in second place with a .581 winning record. So the Dodgers and the Reds are 2 games behind. But as we just mentioned a moment ago, the Dodgers are losing their ball game by 3 runs tonight. That game is between the Dodgers and the Pirates. Or did we have a final on that? I believe we did. Yeah, we did have a final on that. The Dodgers have lost that game with Pittsburgh, so the Reds climb up into second place. The Dodgers are 2.5 back. The Reds are 2 behind. So we can exchange positions. The Dodgers in third place in the West. The Reds are second, just 2 games behind the league-leading San Francisco Giants.
Well, it's always nice to win the first game of a road trip, and that's exactly what the Reds have done here in Philadelphia tonight on home runs from Henderson and Foster. They come from behind to hand the Philadelphia Phillies a 7-2 setback. The Reds have won 5 out of their last 6. The Phils have lost 5 out of their last 6. And a win in terms of closing down ground on division-leading San Francisco. That club splitting a twin bill against the Cubs this afternoon. The Reds chop 1/2 game off the Giants' lead and now trail by but a pair. And the Dodgers, losing in the 9th inning at Pittsburgh 6-3, would drop out of second place and back into third. It seems it's a yo-yo seesaw type of thing. Last night the Reds dropped to third. The Dodgers moved to second. Tonight we reverse the roles if the Pirates hang on to gain a win in that one. 7 runs, 8 hits, no errors, and 4 stranded for Cincinnati, while the Phillies had 2 runs on 10 hits, committed an error, and they left 9 men on base. Winning pitcher, Dave Tomlin. He's 6-1. Doug Bear records his 16th save of the season, and the defeat goes to Steve Carlton, who pitched so well up until giving up that 7th inning 3-run home run to Kenny Henderson that turned the ball game around, and then Foster hit the grand slam in the 8th to allow the Reds to win going away. Carlton under 500. He has now won 8 and lost 9. Game 2 and the final game of the set coming up in the 7:35 start tomorrow evening. It's going to be Tommy Hume looking for his 3rd consecutive victory and his 5th overall against Philadelphia left-hander Jim Cott, who has pitched surprisingly well this season. He'll enter the game with a record of 5 wins and 2 losses. We'll be on the air with the pregame shows on most of these same stations beginning at 7:05 Cincinnati time.
Again, updating the scoreboard, National League, the Pirates have beaten the Dodgers 6-3. The Cubs and the Giants split a twin bill. Cubs scored 7 times in the first 2 innings of the nightcap, beat the Giants 7-5. First game went to the Giants 7-4. And another final, Houston defeated New York 8-3. The American League Tigers over the A's 5-4. And that was the only final score we have. That was an afternoon game, the only one in the American League. This broadcast was authorized on the rights granted by the Cincinnati Reds and Philadelphia Phils. It was intended solely for the entertainment of the AFRTS listening audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the description and account of this game without the express written permission of the Reds and Phils is prohibited. Again, our thanks to Reds broadcasters Marty Brunneman and Joe Nuxall reporting from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Final score again, Cincinnati 7, Philadelphia 2. Del Burnett speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Golden Rock with Tony T.
American Forces Radio.